Hello, everybody. Welcome to Collin and Curtis in the Morning. It is episode 42. This is our E3 special. Collin, can I get an E3 hype train?
It's rolling. It's like coming right into the station.
It is
You got all
the
those
E3.
cars. You got the Sony car. You've got the Microsoft car. Like they're all just stacked
You
up
got the
on this
Bethesda
train.
car, the
Yeah.
EA car, the
Yep.
Ubisoft car, and the
Yep.
Nintendo caboose.
Yeah, the Nintendo.
Just
Exactly. Yes.
Okay, so we are, depending on when you're listening to this, hours away. Just mere moments away from the beginning of the greatest week of the year, some would argue. EA is kicking things off Sunday afternoon. I believe it's 5 p.m. Eastern time, somewhere in that ballpark. And then, of course, Bethesda will follow them up. We talked about those two press conferences last week. We're going to get into everything else in today's episode. You know, typically, sometimes you listen to a podcast, Collin, and they kick off the show, and they're like, well, we got a big show for you today. This is like the rundown. Collin, usually, you know, you say that, and it's like, well, we're just looking at the show notes, and there's a lot of stuff in the show notes.
Yeah.
You and I both can confirm, beyond any doubt, that this is the biggest show we have ever done.
It's like almost double in size, maybe even like sometimes triple.
It is going to be 3 times the size.
Yeah,
close to 3 times the size. The largest show we have ever done.
I
Most
like
of it
though.
has already been recorded.
Mm-hmm.
So we're actually kind of in the home stretch, and so like I think we are well rested, and we are ready to go to finish. Actually, the beginning. So we are returning to the beginning to finish off this podcast. This is gonna be split up into 2 parts. Basically, it's all posted together, but we're gonna cover the news from this week. Everything that dropped this week, because pre-E3 week, there's a bunch of stuff that drops kind of earlier in the week, and some stuff kind of trickles out as the week goes on. And then the second part, which is going to be the very long section, you and I break down Microsoft, Ubisoft, Sony, Nintendo, various other third parties, and
EA.
we do some predictions.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we cover a little bit of EA and Bethesda again, because
Yep.
there's a couple of things that we missed out on.
Yeah.
But that's going to be in the second part. So grab some popcorn, pull up a chair, play some video games. We're just going to get right into it. There's a lot of news that dropped this week. We're going to dig in, starting with one of the first things that was announced this week. It is a brand new IP, brand new title. I think calling it a new IP, like it is a new IP, but it definitely takes place in an established world.
Yes.
This is from Volition, the creators of Saints Row. So their game they announced this week is Agents of Mayhem. This title actually leaked a few weeks ago, just the name of it itself, but many people assume maybe it was a code name for Saints Row 5. If you listen to Volition, they had a little live stream actually yesterday talking a little bit about Agents of Mayhem. They confirmed that the first gameplay will be next Tuesday. So
Okay.
I'm imagining on like Jeff Keighley's YouTube Gaming or something like that.
Yeah.
But they put out a CG trailer. They have gone on the record and saying this is not a Saints Row game. But here's the setup. So they put out Gat Out of Hell. What was it, about a year and a half ago?
Something like that. Yeah.
Gat Out of Hell had a handful of different endings. There was one specific ending that they are basically, I guess it's kind of left. It's a kind of different timeline scenario, basically, of what they're building this off of. But this takes place in kind of the Saints Row established universe, but it is in a timeline in which the Saints as an organization did not exist.
Okay.
So this is, you have a team of 12 different like characters or heroes. From that team of 12, you build a 3-person team that you can swap between on the fly. It's a single-player open-world game. They said that there are specific connections, like more than just what we know so far, to the Saints Row universe, but they're not talking about them just yet. So that's something I imagine we'll learn as time goes on through the build-up to this game coming out next year. It is a PS4, Xbox One, PC game. So the trailer is all CG, kind of introduces us to a couple different characters, perhaps a villain as well. It feels so Saints Row, just in the humor and just the style, like the very much the tone. There's not really a lot that you can kind of make of it as far as gameplay is concerned. But until I'm proven wrong on Tuesday, I have a strong feeling that it is going to feel very similar to Saints Row 4, in that you'll have some superpowers. It'll probably vary and differ quite a bit from character to character. But I have a feeling it's going to play pretty close to what Saints Row was going in, at least that direction. So
Yeah.
It is established over many podcasts and over the years that I am a massive Saints Row fan. Collin, how do you feel about Saints Row or even Agents of Mayhem now?
Give it a thumbs up.
All right.
Just one thumbs up.
I'll give it a thumbs up too until we see gameplay.
The only Saints Row I think I played was Saints Row 3. Was free at some point on Plus, on PS3.
Saints Row the third, yeah.
Oh yes, the third, yes. And I think I played the beginning and maybe like the intro and maybe like one mission after that.
Mm-hmm.
There was like the part where you're like flying through the airplane and stuff like that. It was really cool. But I honestly am not that huge of a Saints Row fan, but you know, that's pretty much all, I guess. I don't know. It's cool that it's announced.
Good. It's yeah, and you know, I wonder. I think a lot of the question, and not to spend too long on this, but after Saints Row 4, you know, you give them superpowers, and so the question is like, where do you go in Saints Row 5? Like, where do you go from there?
Aliens, space.
Because I get, you know, it's one of those things like the Saints Row. If you compare like Saints Row 1 or 2 to Saints Row 4, it is such a drastic change.
Yeah.
Is 5 a reboot? Do they just build off the superpowers and get even crazier? What happens from there? And Agents of Mayhem, I think, is smart because it's like, okay, it's kind of still within the universe and we can do our superhero thing. I can't imagine Saints Row as an IP is gone forever. I imagine Saints Row 5 will happen at some point.
Yeah.
But I take this to mean Saints Row 5, when it does happen, probably is going to be a bit different from the direction that 4 was going in with the superhero powers and how crazy it got. I think you might see it move away from the superhero aspect, perhaps. I don't know. Although that is something that is now years and years away, whereas we thought Saints Row 5 was probably going to be announced this year. Not quite. We actually got a little spin-off title here.
Yeah.
Moving on. So Horizon Zero Dawn. We got a new story trailer for that this week, and also a delay. So this has been delayed to February 28th, 2017. We got a specific date now. The new trailer kind of digs into Aloy, her kind of backstory and kind of the cause of like why she is doing what she is doing in the game. Kind of shed some light on that. We talk about in the second part of this podcast. I imagine we're gonna see a bit more of that in Sony's press conference. Did we talk about the delay? I don't remember if we talked very much about the delay, but I don't think we need to spend a ton of time. On this because we do get into it.
We
later.
Probably mentioned something about it.
Yeah.
We talk about. I think we talk about Horizon for a good amount.
Yeah.
There.
So that's kind of your news. We are going. Yeah, we'll definitely talk more about Horizon later on in the podcast.
And there's a collector's edition too, as well, that got announced.
Yeah. Yep.
Do you have any interest in that collector's edition?
Probably not.
Okay. Yeah.
There's another collector's edition I will be buying around that time period.
Oh, what's that game?
Oh, we'll get to it.
Oh, okay.
So next up, Yooka-Laylee. So this is like stuff was all happening Monday. Monday was insane.
Yeah.
Yooka-Laylee got its first gameplay trailer. It is dated at Q1 2017, so I guess technically a delay.
Yeah.
At least from what the Kickstarter was hoping for.
Mm-hmm.
This game looks hot.
That's probably the best way to describe it, is that it looks hot. Like that's
Yooka-Laylee.
Like,
oh my god.
Even like just watching that trailer, I just had a huge smile on my face the whole time.
Yes.
And like
there's a minecart level.
Yeah, the number one part though, I would almost say I like kind of like my smile like almost turned to like tears of joy. Mm-hmm. Was at the very end, their little end of the trailer.
Oh yeah, the little end sting, yeah.
Like, you know, like how they used to talk, like in Banjo-Kazooie and stuff.
Yeah.
I love that so much.
I was texting one of my friends about it, who's also like a big Banjo fan, basically. And he's been excited for Yooka-Laylee. And just my whole takeaway is like, you watch that trailer, and it's one of those kinds of things. It's the hype I imagine people would feel if Crash Bandicoot actually gets announced, and like you see footage of it. Is you get that feeling of like, we don't get things like this anymore.
Yeah.
You know, the games like this do not get made
Yep.
very often anymore, especially not to this kind of polish and quality level that trailer was showing.
Yep.
I think for me, it was the moment. There's a moment where like they kind of curl up and roll up a hill, and then you see like the ice world also, and just how like expansive it is. And like just the more and more you see and more mechanics that they show off in that trailer, it's like, oh my god, yes! Like, it has been so long since we've even gotten anything like this. And you can see, the banjo influences are very much apparent everywhere. That game, like, I was pretty excited for it. I know you backed it, so I know you've been hyped for it. This was the trailer that got me on board. I'm like, okay, yep, I'm good. Because I was never, like, I was a little hesitant about the character designs, to be honest, of Yooka and Laylee. I thought they looked fine, but they kind of looked weird to me. I guess maybe it took some getting used to, but seeing them in action, like, actually, like, in the game itself and running around, I was like, all right, no, this looks fantastic. This really, really just looks fantastic. So that was also very early this week. And now the next one, I don't remember if this was I think it was Tuesday morning, because it was like 3 a.m. when this next trailer dropped, just out of nowhere. And it was at a glorious moment. So Final Fantasy XII, the Zodiac Age, is what they're calling it. It's coming to PS4 next year. This is the rumored kind of HD collection for Final Fantasy XII. I'm going to hit it over to our RPG expert, Collin.
Yes, Final Fantasy XII is like the greatest Final Fantasy due to the second Archmage that you fight in level 7.
Do you know anything about Final Fantasy XII?
I know absolutely nothing about.
All right,
Final
Fantasy
XII
is
the Zodiac. So something about a
fantastic
Zodiac
game. So basically, what this is, to explain the Zodiac part, is in Japan, sometime after Final Fantasy XII came out, they came out with essentially a director's cut. It was like the Zodiac's International Zodiac Job Edition or something like that, and it was added a bunch of new features. It added like like this job board based on Zodiac signs. So it was kind of a new leveling up system as well. It was a pretty expansive addition to Final Fantasy XII. That version never came out. It was never localized. So this is similar to the Kingdom Hearts HD collections, which are actually the final mix version, which is also a kind of director's cut that never got localized for Kingdom Hearts. This is pretty similar, where basically we're getting a version of this game with some new additions that we actually never got anyways. So that alone is like super exciting for people who have played the game already. This looked great. You know, this is a game that came out extremely late into the PS2 life cycle. I want to say it was like a month before PlayStation 3 launched. Because it was like October before. It was like the October before, basically. It's just a fantastic game. It's got some like incredible, like it's one of those games like the English VO is actually just like really, really, really good. It feels Star Wars-y in a way. Some of the scenes it's not turn-based, or it's like pseudo turn-based. It's almost like a single-player MMO in some ways. The combat is. But it takes place in the world of Ivalice, which is like also where the tactics games take place. It's a phenomenal game. There actually are legitimately people who that is their favorite Final Fantasy. I guess you could argue 12. I mean, if you really hate 13, you would probably say 12 is the last really good one. But 12 is solid. It is so good. I cannot wait to go back to it. To keep on the Final Fantasy train though. That train keeps rolling, because then late Tuesday night we got a trailer for World of Final Fantasy and a release date. That game is coming out October 25th on PlayStation 4 and Vita. New trailer showed off more story and more new Final Fantasy cameo characters. The game continues to look great. I'm very, very much excited. Like we'll get to it later, but Square Enix this year and even next year have a pretty killer lineup. But I don't think we really have much to say about World of Final Fantasy other than I'm super excited. And you, I'm assuming not.
You know, I just can't, like, I've played every Final Fantasy, as you know.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
And I just cannot wait to dive into the world of Final Fantasy.
Yep. So while we're enjoying all of these Square Enix games this year, luckily we'll have quite a bit of time to do so, because one of the other, massive JRPGs that is on the horizon has been pushed back, at least the US release date. Persona 5, which is coming out in Japan on September 15th, we learned this week is not coming out this year.
Yep.
Okay, so this is still coming to PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 3. They stressed that it will still be on PlayStation 3. But it is coming out February 14th, 2017, Valentine's Day.
Yep.
Which I guess is somewhat fitting. They announced like a couple collector's editions. There's one that's they got the $60 version, of course, just main game. They've got another one that's like Steelbook and maybe a couple other things, and then they got one for $90, which is like Steelbook. It's an art book. It's like a 60-some page art book soundtrack. And they got like a school bag kind of that looks like the ones that the characters would have. They've got a plush of Morgana, which is like the cat character in the game.
Okay.
So it's pretty all, like, they've kind of gone all out for that. I pre-ordered it from Amazon. I'm ready to go. That is it's unfortunate. It's a bummer, but at the same time, like, I know that game's going to deliver, and at least this way I have time to play Final Fantasy 15 and just dedicate time to that. So there's plenty of other games coming out this year, so unfortunately we'll just have to wait one more year for perfection, but we're getting there. Or it's only 8 months. It's only 8 months. So
Perfection 5.
Perfection 5. I'll just have to like dodge spoilers for 5 months. That's gonna be the worst part.
Just gotta get off
Tethered.
The
Tethered is the first of quite a few VR games that was announced this week. Collin, did you look at this Tethered game at all?
Yeah, I did.
I'm actually kind of interested to get your thoughts on this.
Yeah, it is. From what I'm just trying to remember, like it is kind of like Pikmin-esque a little bit. How you have like kind of different areas, and you have like different characters doing certain jobs, and then it turns night, and then these monsters.
Well, it's an RTS. Or it looks like an RTS, yeah.
Okay, I just remember like this is the one with the little blue alien.
Yeah, I don't know if they were specifically blue, but there's these little like creatures. They don't look like Pikmin, but the things you're doing, it definitely looks something like just aesthetic wise, it's very cartoony. Mm-hmm. But you're right, it does look like that. And then at night, these like monsters or alien creatures invade, and so you've got to defend. And I just the funniest part of that trailer is like this like alien slug looking thing just like is just sitting there in the middle of town, and you've got 3 of these guys like with just like clubs just hitting it, and it doesn't really look like they're doing anything or any sort of damage. They're just going away at it. Mm-hmm. But that actually, like, I thought that looked really interesting. I don't remember who it's. Do you remember who's developing this? Because I think it's a Sony first party studio.
I do not remember. Apologies.
Maybe not. Okay. Well, anyways, that is the first of a few VR games that we'll talk about today. I thought it looked cool. I'm interested to see more. Mm-hmm. I'd imagine it'll probably be playable on the show floor or something. Yeah. XCOM 2 is coming to consoles. I thought they said it wouldn't. Didn't they say this would not come to consoles?
Yeah. Well,
I guess people say things.
They wanted everybody to buy the PC version, and I don't know.
So, what date? When is this coming? When can I buy XCOM 2?
Well, Curtis, you can buy XCOM 2 September 6th on PlayStation 4. I'm sure you get something bonus if you pre-order or something. But,
probably. Yeah. You get like an additional alien or something. I don't know.
Did you ever play Enemy Unknown?
I played a little bit, yeah. I played like the demo on PC, and then I played. It was on Plus on PS4 actually. So I played the first few missions. I never ended up getting too far into it. Mm-hmm. I'd be down to check it out. It's always one of those things where like I'm sure I would get into it and like it quite a bit. Yeah. I just never dedicated enough time to it. So now that it is coming to console, maybe I'll check it out. I don't know. Yeah. It really depends. There's a lot of stuff coming. Mm-hmm. So it's gonna be rough. Boy, here we go. Next up,
another Square
Enix game. Kingdom Hearts 2.8 HD on PlayStation 4. We got a new trailer for that. That showed... So, okay. It's coming in December. We don't know a specific date. I'm going to guess December 6th. That is the first Tuesday of December. Mm-hmm. That typically falls in line where the other HD collections came out, kind of time frame wise. It also confirmed that Kingdom Hearts 3 information is coming this winter. Now, to me, yeah, the one PSX would make a lot of sense. To me, that also maybe doesn't come out and confirm it, but to me that says don't expect Kingdom Hearts 3 to show up at E3.
Yeah, true.
Which makes sense. You know, that's something that I figure once Final Fantasy 15 is out the door, I imagine Kingdom Hearts 3 is kind of the next big game to get the push.
Yeah, and even they had the Final Fantasy 7 remake. They were like, oh, see more information this winter, and then it was PSX when we got more information.
Yes, yeah. So I imagine it'll be very similar. Hopefully at that point, they'll be more willing to share a bit more substantial information. Mm-hmm. Kingdom Hearts 3, it's been kind of a slow drip, and when they do talk about it, it's not a lot. So, so hopefully, you know, we'll see a bit more. But this trailer, I very briefly, I just want to say, like, showed some footage of Dream Drop Distance, which is the 3DS game that is kind of the key thing of this specific collection. It's going to be remastered. It showed some footage of Birth by Sleep 0.2. Now, this is the one where you're going to play as Aqua, the female character from Birth by Sleep. And she is kind of stuck in the dark world. But this is kind of the thing that is supposedly running on a similar engine, or the Kingdom Hearts 3 engine, I'm guessing, or probably similar tech, CUE4. And so it's going to visually probably look pretty similar. I would assume it will probably play somewhat similar at the very least. But it's going to be it's another piece kind of tying in to Kingdom Hearts 3. Some people have described it as perhaps it'll be Ground Zeroes-esque.
Oh, okay.
If you from like the Ground Zeroes to Phantom Pain, that'll be kind of the connection. We're not too sure how long it is, but they did show some footage of it in the gameplay, in the trailer, which is the first gameplay we've seen of it. It looks so good. It really looks good. And then they also showed the little like CG movie thing that's going to tie into the mobile game, which actually looks a lot more substantial than I expected it to be. So there's that as well. I'm ridiculously hyped for it. But I guess we'll talk more about that this winter, and when we'll learn about Kingdom Hearts 3. Injustice 2 got announced for PS4. It's coming out next year. We're going to see gameplay of that actually tomorrow. Well, if you're listening to this, we've probably already heard, or we've probably already seen gameplay of Injustice 2. Collin, did you ever play the first Injustice? Do you have any interest in this?
So, let me tell you a little story.
Okay.
We have... This is when Injustice Gods Among Us was coming out. It's like 2013, I think. So I think this is when the PS3 360 version of the game came out. And so I went to a midnight launch for Injustice Gods Among Us because I heard there was a tournament going on at the local GameStop. And I was not deciding to pick up the game, but I just wanted to go just to see how I would do. And I'd heard about this tournament, and I had been playing the Injustice demo, like, for days before that. So I started, like, just looking up combo videos online for, like, Wonder Woman in the demo. And so then when we had a tournament at the midnight launch for Injustice, I played as Wonder Woman, and I won the entire tournament. And then I looked at some people, and I go, by the way, I'm not buying this game. I just came here to beat all of you. So that's my experience with Injustice. So it's kind of a random story, but
all right.
Yeah, so that's my memories about Injustice, and I guess I'm looking forward to a sequel because I do not have it, but I did download it on PS4 when it was free at that one point.
I did too. I played a little bit of it. It was cool.
Yeah.
I'm not, whatever. We'll see more of it, or we have seen more of it, depending on what timeline you live in.
Yeah.
How We Soar is coming to PlayStation 4 through the PSVR. It's coming later this year, maybe not specifically at launch, but they did say Q4 2016. You play as like a bird, like a phoenix, looks like. This really just colorful bird, or mostly red. But what struck me about it specifically is it actually reminded me a bit of Tearaway, and it looked almost somewhat papercraft. Some of the structures you were flying around in the sky and looking. It's just a very visually really nice looking game.
It's almost like Tearaway mixed with like the open world, not the open world, but the 3D sections of Entwined kind of thing.
That's a really that's a really good comparison. I think that's
Yeah.
pretty spot on. Yeah.
Yeah.
So not much to say about that, but I thought it looked nice and interested to learn more.
Yeah.
Deus Ex Breach. So Wednesday afternoon, both Deus Ex and Watch Dogs both had kind of stream reveals. Part of that was Deus Ex was first. They announced a few different Deus Ex related things. One thing that we can talk about, knowing that it is going to be coming to PlayStation, at least, is Deus Ex Breach. This is a new mode that is going to be in Mankind Divided when it comes out for free. It was weird that they were like, yeah, it comes free with Mankind Divided. So I don't know if it's going to be like this extra thing to download or something, but
Yeah.
I don't know. It looked really interesting, and I'm pretty sure it's VR.
Oh, okay.
Maybe. It's unclear. I'm pretty sure they said VR. It looked like some sort of VR training thing. But like it looked pretty expansive. So definitely a lot of people I follow on Twitter look pretty hyped about that.
Very rad. It's VR.
Very rad.
So
yeah,
it is
it's
VR.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. I'm interested in Mankind Divided, but I don't know if we have much to say about it because I don't know if either of us really have experience with Deus Ex.
I played Human Revolution when it was free once, and I was expecting to really like it, but it just didn't click with me. Like I really love like the cyberpunk kind of futuristic style of games.
Okay.
But I just didn't hook me at all.
Okay. The next thing is something else that we definitely talked a bit about in the second part of the podcast when we were talking about Ubisoft, is Watch Dogs 2 got its reveal this week. It is coming out November 15th on PlayStation 4, Xbox, PC. It is based in San Francisco. You will play as Marcus Holloway. Some more to come at the Ubisoft press conference, obviously. I'm pretty sure we spent a good deal of time on Watch Dogs 2 in the second half of this.
But I guess maybe some updated thoughts.
Okay.
That I can't remember what we said at the other time, but what we said coming in the future.
Yeah, this is gonna be great. Like,
yeah,
we're gonna.
But that trailer's really growing on me.
Is it? Okay.
I just like every time like you click on an ad or like you see ads for it and stuff like that.
And you see it, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, you know what? That trailer's kind of growing on me. So I'm getting
starting
a little
to...
more. Yeah, I do agree. I don't know if we mentioned it on air.
Well, stay tuned for an hour from now where you're like lukewarm on this.
Yeah, I know, right? I don't remember if we mentioned it there on the podcast, but man, that box art's still really good.
I really like that box art.
I've
I don't know why. Like I don't know. There's something about it that I actually like. It was one of those ones similar to Persona 5 where like you immediately see that box art and like it did not take long. Like it was almost instant. Like, wow, that's really good.
Yep.
I think that's a strong box art, if nothing else. Hopefully the game's good. So keep in mind when we get to Watch Dogs 2 in our second segment, know that we are recording this part at the end of this week so we could get all of the news in.
Yep.
So this is our updated thoughts. So it's starting to grow on you. I'm still pretty excited about it. Although as I'm talking about it and getting excited about it, like in the back of my mind, I'm like, what are you doing? Why? Like, you know how this went last time.
Yeah.
But I'm hopeful. I'm optimistic, and I think what they've shown so far actually looks pretty good. Yeah. So there's that. We'll talk about it more in about an hour. I don't remember how long it took us to get there, but somewhere around that point.
Yeah.
Harmonix Music VR. So I don't know. We've known about this. They did confirm this week it is coming at launch for PlayStation VR. So that'll be this October. I don't think we have a specific date yet.
No.
So okay, they were talking about like specifically a mode where you could like they were drawing things that actually reminded me of Dreams. They were like creating trees and different characters, and you could like do choreography for like things you've made, and it has 17 different songs, some of which are from Amplitude or A City Sleeps, which is another Harmonix game they put out like a couple years ago.
It was on Is that the PC game?
I think so.
Okay.
But the kind of the bigger news here is that it will work with your music
Yep.
So you can plug in a USB drive or something into your PS4, upload your music that way, and it'll work with your music.
I was waiting for them to say like it works with Spotify or something like that.
Yeah, that'd be
I don't know.
Maybe that's the next step. Like that, I don't know what the process to do that would be, but that would be pretty cool too.
Yeah.
Since we've already got kind of Spotify support on PS4, anyways.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's a big deal. That is something. Unfortunately, I feel like a lot of music games have kind of lost over time. Or I feel like we've had it before, but maybe not. I don't know. Unfortunately, that's been a tough thing to do, depending on the kind of music game that you're making. And so I think you can count on these 17 songs that are included in the game not being like licensed music or anything.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's actually exciting to know that you can use your own. And it just, I don't know, like that trailer made it look pretty fun. I don't know how like long I would spend with it, but it looked interesting nonetheless.
Yeah.
So we'll see more of that probably over the next week in the coming months. So we got just a couple more things, but a few of these I think we'll probably spend a bit of time on, and to discuss. But one thing specifically, and this has me, I wouldn't say confused is the right word. But I would like to talk to Tarsier Studios.
And disappointed, maybe.
So Tarsier unveiled a new game. It's a new PlayStation VR game. It is called Statik.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just going to read a short snippet from the PlayStation blog post about this game. Statik is a VR puzzle mystery where you join Dr. Engen and his delightful assistant Edith on a journey to unravel the complexities of the human mind. Awakening to each new day with a unique, hand-mounted puzzle device to solve. You must use your brain, eyes, and ears to solve each mystery. So the trailer they did actually, it looked interesting. I'm curious to check it out. I think the concept actually makes it look like there could be an interesting, kind of control method to this. Although we don't know what that is yet. If it's going to use, Move controllers or the DualShock 4.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing that I'm wondering, and I think you probably know what I'm getting at.
Oh, yeah.
Where is Hunger?
Yep.
Because at this point, it's been a long time since we've seen anything from that game. And, not that I'm, I don't want to feel like I'm demanding anything or, but I'd love to know what's going on with that game because the one trailer they put out is one of my favorite trailers of the past couple years. I think that game looks incredible and I would love to, just even a little update. Just let me know if it's coming this year or maybe I should wait a little longer. But
if it's coming at all.
Yeah, I was really hoping, because I knew Tarsier was going to show some stuff, I think this week, I was really hoping Hunger would be what they were going to show.
Yeah.
But it's not. So, maybe it'll pop up next week. I'm hoping that it will, but I guess there is a slight disappointment, because I would love to see, it's one of those things where it's I'm just really excited for your game.
Yeah.
I would love to see more of it, because it's been so long. So let's get into the last couple of things. These are things added over the past day. Well, let's get this one out of the way because I don't think we'll spend much time on it. Rocket League is getting a new map, Neo Tokyo. It's coming June 20th. Map looks super cool. Are you in agreement?
I have not seen this yet.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
I had not had time to look.
It's also getting a big update. Let me read off this list of things coming to the game, and as I'm reading this off, go ahead and look up Neo Tokyo so you can give your first thoughts. So there's an update also coming, I believe, this month. It's going to include... I'm just going to read the list. Some of these mean nothing to me. More than 20 rare and very rare item drops for online post-game drops. An easy-to-use trade-in system that allows players to exchange multiple items of one rarity type for an even rarer one. New painted items that offer different color variations or existing garage favorites like toppers and wheels. Special certified items that track specific in-game stats and increase in prestige the higher the stats go. Let's see what else. New quick chat communication options that expand player choices for fast in-game communication. New post-game celebrations that spotlight the winning team and allow them to jump, spin, and boost their car to show off their accomplishments. I like that. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Pillars, a new experimental arena that separates the field into 3 lanes via 2 massive walls in the middle of the stadium. That's interesting. 8 new trophies and achievements in all 3 platforms. I guess a blog is coming June 13th to specify what those are. And then finally, a new in-game showroom that allows players to view and purchase all previously released and future premium DLC. And there is going to be a blog update coming on June 15th to kind of discuss what that is. So that is it's a new stadium or new map, and then also all these new kind of updates coming in the next month. I believe June 20th specifically is when all of that is coming. So Collin, now that you've seen Neo Tokyo, what do you think?
This looks a lot like the Rocket Labs map that they
I think they said specifically it's inspired off of that, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I like it. I would maybe say that maybe that map is not one of my favorite of the Rocket Labs.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it definitely looks beautiful. I love that kind of futuristic Neo kind of thing. I will probably pick this up, absolutely.
All right, cool. So that leaves us with two more things. This is Street Fighter V. I'm actually kind of well, I don't know. Considering what they actually announced in the blog update yesterday, I guess I'm not surprised they did it on the Capcom Unity blog. I was expecting, and I'm kind of still expecting maybe some stuff about Street Fighter V on Sony's stage. But we have specifics of the story mode as well as some interesting new changes coming to the game. So I'm just going to read down the list, and then Collin, I think this pertains more to you specifically. You're going to play more of this game than I will probably when it's all said and done.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to know your thoughts. First, A Shadow Falls is going to be the name of the story mode. It's going to be about 3 to 4 hours long. There will be 5 chapters, and it takes place between Street Fighter 4 and Street Fighter 3. Okay. The interesting thing is all DLC characters, even the ones that have not been available just yet, ones coming in the future, they will be playable in the story mode. And then they're kind of like pitching this as a way to check out future characters before they're actually available publicly. Sure. Which I think is interesting. I wonder, like, balancing wise, or, movesets, I wonder if they might, or some of these future characters might end up feeling different when they come out. Does that make sense to you? Like, that was kind of an interesting thing that kind of caught my eye, that they're going to be in the story mode and you'll be able to play as them. But I can't imagine the characters would be done at that point, if you know what I mean. Like, does that make sense?
Yeah. The only thing I can think about is they'll probably tweak more of the characters, probably more on the player versus player online thing, rather than changing of how they're actually acting in the single player. So
I mean, the fact that it is a story in single player mode probably allows them to do this easier, I'd assume.
They're probably not too worried about it.
So that's the story. You can also earn fight money as you play through the story. Now, from here on, that's the story update. And that is coming later this month. This is where things get interesting. So Zenny, which was kind of their real money option, which apparently, from my understanding, actually hadn't been put into effect just yet.
Yeah, I don't think it had.
They were still kind of toying around trying to figure out how to get it to work. Zenny is gone. They are not pursuing this Zenny real money option anymore. You're still going to be able to spend real money on characters, but I guess the Zenny part is not going to be there. Mm-hmm. So to me, that just makes it easier. It's just let me click the option, take me to the PlayStation Store, and boom, we're done. It doesn't need to be complicated.
Yeah.
So this is the breakdown now. New characters are $5.99 or 100,000 fight money. New stages $3.99 or 70,000 fight money. Alternate stages $1.99 or 40,000 fight money. Story costumes $1.99 or 40,000 fight money. And then there are premium costumes that will be $3.99, and you will only be able to get the premium costumes with a real money option. And then finally, there are some new single player modes coming. Specifically Extra Battle and then Versus CPU. Those are in the works. This, to me, I mean, someone who's I'm by no means really into the Street Fighter community, Street Fighter 5 community right now. I'm not super up to date on things, but to me, from an outsider's perspective, and at least having a very base knowledge of what people don't like and what people like about this game so far, this seems like actually a really good update.
Yeah, I definitely think so. I'd almost say the thing I'm actually most excited for is maybe the Versus CPU.
Yeah, that feels, this feels for maybe the first time so far, a legitimately substantial, okay, it feels like you guys are getting this together.
Yeah.
now, and which is encouraging.
Yeah, I'm not too big on the story stuff, but I'll still probably play through the Shadow Falls little campaign that they have. I actually have the season pass, so Zenny wasn't really that much of an option. I think we get premium costumes with that.
Yeah,
I can't remember, but I don't know about the story costumes and things like that. So there's some costumes that you can unlock, I think, by playing naturally. But you have to end up beating this survival mode on brutal difficulty, which is just really tough. Or you can just go buy them. That's how I understand it.
Right.
I'm not too big on the costumes, but I'm kind of a person who likes to have all the content, so
yeah,
that's kind of went with that. Yeah, I think it's kind of cool that it almost kind of reminded me of the Microsoft points and stuff like that, on Xbox, when they used to do that. How it was you would spend $20, but then you'd only get 1,200 Microsoft points. Yeah, and it's let's just get rid of the buying the points, and let's just make it you buy this thing for $5.99.
It's one of those weird things, and I guess it's crazy because sometimes it's so easy to just make it simple. Don't it's kind of, I don't want to harp on Nintendo a lot, but it feels like there are certain things that Nintendo does that are overly complicated, and it's just make it really simple. In the case of Street Fighter or with the Xbox points, right? It's just have it. Let it be money. Let it just be dollar values or whatever currency that you use. Zenny or Microsoft points or whatever. There were Nintendo points for a while.
Yeah,
I think or something like that. It's that overcomplicates things. It's not hard to learn. It's just it is so much easier to just be hey, this thing's $2. It's boom, done. That's all I need to know. But yeah, I don't know. So that's kind of your big update for Street Fighter V. Again, I imagine this is something that we'll learn more about. Some future stuff coming to this game over the next week. I don't know. They'll probably show more story stuff too. I think there was was there a trailer for it? If I remember correctly.
Not that I remember.
Maybe we'll get maybe we'll get a trailer for the story mode soon. Maybe at Sony's press conference or something.
Yeah.
And so we have one last thing, and this is something that we kind of talked about in our second part of this podcast, which we're coming up on now. But this is actually new, or somewhat new. But it's something that I want to kind of steer the conversation in a slightly different direction than what we had in our second part. Just make it a little bit different.
It ain't Neo Tokyo, that's for sure.
It ain't Neo Tokyo, that's right. So, I woke up this morning around 9 in the morning, and one of the first things I saw was an article from Financial Times. They were talking to Andrew House, in which, after months and months of rumors, this started back in March, I believe, right after GDC.
GDC, yeah.
Sony has confirmed that the PlayStation 4 Neo codename, does exist.
Yeah.
And it will not be at E3. So as you listen to our second part, when we get to Sony and talk about PlayStation 4K or Neo, you and I are both kind of in agreement that we would not be surprised if it just did not show up.
Yep.
So we talked a little bit more about it, but there are some quotes from him in regards to the PlayStation 4 Neo. So this is from Andrew House. He says, "It is intended to sit alongside and complement the standard PlayStation 4. We will be selling both versions through the life cycle." And again, then he later says, "All games will support the standard PlayStation 4, and we anticipate all or a very large majority of games will also support the high-end PlayStation 4."
Yep.
So this is our first... It's a little small bits of info, it's not much, but it is our first concrete from Sony themselves information on what this is.
Yep.
So there's a couple things I want to kind of steer the conversation in, because I don't want to go too long, but I'm willing. I figured this is something that you and I actually could probably talk about a little bit and just kind of share some thoughts. So in our second phase, we talk a little bit about Neo, and it's more a lot of just kind of hypothesizing and but we don't say too much because it's like, well, we gotta wait till we actually hear from Sony themselves, and then we also are like, it might not even be there because you might think that you would want to announce the Neo not too far in advance because you don't want to like cannibalize your sales or anything, which I imagine this is what they're doing. So the first thing I want to say is, when do you think they're going to announce this thing?
I could almost see this thing not even coming out this year, not even being announced this year. It just depends on how much. It just depends on how much they actually this new hardware, or like how much VR needs this new hardware.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, I could see this. I could see this getting announced like at a Paris Games Week and then coming out this fall, or I could even see this thing just not even getting announced or even talked about this year.
Okay. So we should know, like, Paris Games Week. If they do Paris Games Week again this year instead of Gamescom, that is in October.
October, yeah.
So that is when PlayStation VR comes out. If you remember, the initial rumor, I think, for this basically was like, yeah, this is going to be March of next year. Mm-hmm. And then as time went on, I think people started theorizing it might even be this year. Because I think there were some people. I think it was like AMD was mentioning that they expect new hardware to come out this year. Maybe it was GameStop as well.
Yeah.
Was mentioning new hardware coming this year, which could just be the Xbox Slim at this point. Yeah. Who even knows? Now that the NX is not this year either. So I mean, would you have a guess? Are you willing to guess when you think this is going to come out, as well as when they would announce it, even if it doesn't come out this year?
I still think
impromptu prediction.
I'm conflicted because I don't think they would launch it in like March of next year. I just don't think they would. But I would probably say impromptu prediction. Given the circumstances, I will say this thing gets announced at Paris Games Week in October, and then comes out
November.
Or
like immediately.
I would say like comes out immediately and comes out like the exact same time as VR.
My only hesitation with that, and like I'm not saying it's unrealistic or anything. My only thing about that, and this is what I thought, as soon as this thing, like the rumors started hitting for this, is would they release something like that alongside PlayStation VR, knowing the amount of money that would need to be spent for both things? Because PlayStation VR is it's $400 or it's $500 depending on which version, if you get the bundle or not. This, I'm guessing, would be $400 to $500. We know it is more than $350. We know for a fact it is more than $350, as of Andrew House's statements this morning. And so my only hesitation is, like, obviously this is going to be directed at the hardcore fans, the people who are going to be there day one on console launches, right? Mm-hmm. Especially with him saying that they're selling both versions. Like, this is very much dedicated to a very specific part of their fan base, which is probably the same fan base that the VR is going to be focused on, at least for a little while.
Yeah. Until
we're at a point where VR can get up and running to kind of more mainstream audiences. And so that would be my only thing, is like, would you really, and you would probably see them treat VR as a platform and not a peripheral. And so I just wonder if they would actually release two platforms at the same time. Even though you could kind of debate semantics about PlayStation VR, that is two very expensive pieces of equipment.
Yeah.
And releasing them in a short time span, I don't know. I don't know how that would work. Like, I just don't know if that would work out in their favor. Maybe it would. Maybe I just don't know what I'm talking about. So I would be willing to predict that this comes out in March and we get an NX PS4K just brawl, and it's going to be the best. NPDs for March 2017, just you wait. Wow. Or the NX gets pushed back again. I don't know. I'm going to say March.
A spring showdown.
Spring next year or something like that.
Yeah.
And then... And see, even then, like, you wonder, like, when do they announce it? Because would you be willing to announce it at PSX and have it be a 3-month wait? Or would you have a specific event in, like, late February, early March?
The PlayStation meeting?
The again? PlayStation meeting 2.0.
Yeah.
The PlayStation 4K meeting.
Yeah.
PlayStation
I
Neo
don't know.
meeting.
So like I think about like Sony's done a lot of good things this gen. Like they've made the right steps, and it's like you just wonder like is this the right step for them? Like is this like I don't know. I still wonder if like this is like the right move that like will keep them like I think it'll keep them ahead, but I just feel like I can almost see them maybe flubbing this whole thing. Like,
I mean,
this
I
is
think
what you guys want. And then,
well,
like,
I think
maybe
them
not
and
what people
Microsoft
want.
both need to be careful with your messaging on both of these machines, the Scorpio and the Neo. Is you've got to be really careful about how you how you sell it. And now from the concrete info we have on the Neo, these two quotes right here, this makes me feel okay about it, to be honest. Like until we see more specifically what this is, him saying we're gonna sell both. Like that to me says this isn't some weird we're gonna leave you guys behind while we sail into the sunset with the Neo. To me, this is like the Neo is gonna kind of be there, and it's gonna be this weird optional thing. And if that even is it even a success? They're saying it's gonna be profitable from day one, so that leads to a whole another series of questions. But to me, it's like him saying and emphasizing we're selling both through the life cycle. One, the use of the term life cycle, I think says a lot, because I think there was a lot of people, myself included, was guessing what if this is just it? What if we are incremental over every 2 to 3 years? It's another incremental step. So him saying life cycle leads me to believe that maybe they're not thinking increments, at least for Sony. And then also, this is another thing that was rumored, but it's good to have it confirmed. All games are going to support the standard PS4. And what I find interesting, Collin, is we anticipate all or a very large majority will support the high-end PS4. I'd like to know your thoughts as well, but to me that says, okay, your indie games, maybe smaller developers, their games will probably just be pretty similar, if not the same, across both versions of the PS4. But when you look at like a Sony Santa Monica or a Naughty Dog, or maybe the bigger kind of AAA developers, that's where you would start to see the difference.
Yeah, that's almost like it's safe to say, and I definitely think so. Because I mean, you maybe look at something like Axiom Verge, and I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, I'm not a game developer or whatever, but I think it's pretty safe to assume that thing's not pushing the PlayStation 4 hardware,
or it's not something that's like maybe depending on how much more work we're doing evolve. But see, that's the thing. It's like it's not like Axiom Verge would be able to add something that the original PS4 couldn't do, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And so you have that element. And so I think really what's going to matter is just how big of a difference are we talking? Is it going to be something where people feel like it's worth it? And this is why, again, it does seem more and more like it's going to be focused on a very specific audience, because you could have a scenario where, Drive Club, for instance, what if the PS4 Neo would have been able to run it at 60 frames?
Mm-hmm.
And so, I could see that it would be probably a small audience on the whole, right? But I could see, that would probably be worth it to a lot of people, or people who would buy the Neo anyways. And so I think the question becomes, is if this is something that, it doesn't sound like we're going to have to worry about games suddenly becoming awful on the regular PS4.
Yeah.
Which I think was the concern. And it's good to hear, because, obviously that's good to hear. We're not going to be left behind in the dust. But I think then you start to ask the question, well, once we start seeing this and once we learn more in the future, how do they sell it to where it actually makes sense to upgrade? What kind of difference are we looking at? Because it doesn't sound like it's maybe going to be, like in the Scorpio situation where it's supposedly 4 times as powerful. You could imagine that being a significant difference, whereas the PS4K, from what little we've heard, it sounds like maybe it's not going to be a lot, but hopefully it would be enough to make it worth it. But yeah, I don't know. It's super interesting. I like that they got out ahead and said, hey, yeah, Yeah, I figured they would. I figured even if it wasn't going to show up at E3, like, we're going to hear about it. And I imagine we're going to hear, if the Scorpio doesn't show up at E3, we'll probably hear about that. And I would almost be willing to bet, now that I've thought about it a little bit more, we're going to hear about the NX. Maybe not from Nintendo's mouth, but someone's going to say something.
Yeah.
Be it Ubisoft or someone else, even mistakenly, I would almost be willing to bet by the end of next week, we're going to hear something, even just like weird rumors from various developers about the NX. And it might not be from Nintendo, it might be third-party stuff, but I can't, like, you get everyone in one place at one time, like, something's going to leak.
Oh, sure, yeah. I'm curious, did Andrew House refer to it as the PlayStation 4 Neo?
I think he said that it is the codename Neo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Because I was wondering, like, is that going to be, like, the official name?
I don't think it'll be the name.
Okay.
In the same way that VR was Morpheus.
Yeah, sure.
And PlayStation 4 was Orpus. I think Sony, at least recently, if not historically for gaming stuff, has been pretty good about just being like, let's just call it, let's take the easy name. It's one of those things I really appreciate about having it just be PlayStation, PlayStation 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah.
Like, it might start to sound silly if we ever hit 9. But, but like, honestly, like, it's really simple and it's easy. Like, it makes sense, you know? And not that there's anything wrong with saying 360 or GameCube or Wii. Like, those are all fine names in their own right. I guess you could debate Wii. But, like, there's something nice about it just being 1, 2, 3, 4. In PlayStation VR. Like, that's all it needs to be called. Right? I think that's probably why it was renamed PlayStation TV and not Vita. Or not some other PlayStation whatever. Like, calling it PlayStation TV is very simple. It's short. It's to the point. Somewhat. That device was not successful at all, but the point is, like, I think they're decent about names. So whether it's called PlayStation 4K, I don't know. Like, I don't know what you would call this.
Do you think they'd do like an Apple thing where they'd be like, it's a PlayStation 4S or PlayStation 4 Plus or something like that?
I could see something like that.
Yeah.
Especially because that's been established by Apple. Like, having a naming scheme like that is something that even mainstream people would like. We've seen that before. Yeah.
Yeah.
5C, 5S, 6S, whatever. You know, like. Yeah, like I could that or a plus or something like that. I don't think it would be 0.5.
Yeah.
Or in 4K, I don't know. 4K would sound almost disingenuous depending on what this console would actually be putting out, but we'll see. So I thought that was interesting. That's kind of basically what we end on for this week. Is PlayStation 4 Neo finally being confirmed, because other than that, I was expecting maybe a few more things get announced on Friday or today, but hasn't really been a lot. It sounds like after the beginning of the week, a lot of rush to get things announced. It sounds like everything else is being held, and pretty much our second part of the podcast, we cover rumors and everything. So we have, for this week, we have really talked ourselves silly. Collin, do you have anything else to add? Is there anything over what is going to be close to a 3-hour podcast? Or no, actually close to oh my god, this is gonna be close to 4 hours.
Yeah.
Oh, Collin, what have we done? Is there anything that you would like to add that we have maybe forgotten somehow?
I just even staying with the Neo. Do you think it'll be? I'm kind of conflicted with this. Do you think it'll look any different than the regular PlayStation 4? Like, do you think it'll be redesigned, or do you think it's just going to look the same?
I think it'll be slightly different.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder because there are higher specs, I wouldn't say it'll be smaller.
Yeah.
You know, typically you do a slim version, right? So I don't think it'll be that.
Yeah. I got a last minute prediction here.
Okay.
That we're gonna add this one to the last ones. PlayStation
which are a mystery.
Yes.
Till the end of this podcast, but yeah, go ahead.
PlayStation Now will have some presence on the show. Not if it's just like we have great services like PlayStation Now. Like that doesn't count. Like there needs to be like a trailer, or there needs to be like the guy who created Earthworm Jim. I can't remember his name.
Sure.
He needs to come out on stage who does the Gaikai stuff.
Yeah.
And he needs to say something about PlayStation Now. That's my
new big
it's
thing.
my random prediction. Aside from that Nintendo one I made at the very end of the show.
Well, yeah, nice tease there.
Yes.
Do you think they would finally add PS1 and PS2 games to PlayStation Now?
I think
because if you remember, that was part of the original pitch.
Yeah, it was, and even like PSP and all that stuff was like part of it. That still almost seems like a PSX kind of announcement to me, but maybe they could do it.
Okay. I think I've talked out. I don't think there's anything. There's nothing I could possibly think of that we could add to everything. If you've listened thus far, and if you plan on listening to the rest of this, thank you very much. We took a multiple recording sessions this week to get this podcast done.
Yep.
I think in hindsight, we probably should have included more press conferences in the last podcast, but we were short on time last week. And so here we are, just as ultra mega super 4K Neo hyper edition of the Collin and Curtis in the Morning podcast.
Turbo.
You're not even halfway done. So basically, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to have a short little intermediate song or something we'll play, and then we're going to get into the second part of this podcast. And just as a quick refresher, the second part, Collin and I, we break down Microsoft, Ubisoft, Sony, Nintendo, other various third-party rumor speculations, and then we get into predictions. It is a beast of a segment for the podcast. It is about 2 hours and 40 minutes of just nonstop E3-related discussion, predictions, speculation, everything and you want and more. We talk about just about everything. It is an intense discussion, but I think we had a good time doing it. So hopefully you enjoy that. There's a lot of good stuff. Keep in mind that was recorded Wednesday night. So there are a couple things, not as much as we thought actually, but there's a couple things that are old now. But with that said, Collin, this has been a week, and it's going to be a crazy week ahead of us, but I think we're ready for it. We're both very excited.
Yep.
So thank you once again for joining me to record this. It's taking 4 hours out of your week to do this. But also thank you, listeners, for listening to this, and have a happy E3. And we'll be back next week with one, if not multiple podcasts discussing everything that got announced. So hopefully here's to A Year of Dreams 2.0. And until next time, we'll see you later. All right, Collin, we are ready to get started. So we did EA and Bethesda's press conference last week, in the last week's episode. So if you'd like to hear us talk about that, go back to last week's episode. We cover both of those conferences. There are two things I do want to mention, though. Things that we totally forgot to mention for both of those press conferences. One of which has seemingly leaked in the time frame between our last recording. For EA1, if you remember, about a year and a half ago, I believe, EA announced that I don't know if they acquired, but they were working with the studio that did that Brothers game.
Yeah, I don't remember the studio's name.
I don't remember their name either, but they were supposed to be working on something new. We haven't seen anything from that. And we know that EA is also kind of working with the Unravel developer again.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
I wouldn't expect anything from them, but maybe this other developer might have something to show.
Yeah.
The second thing is Skyrim Remastered.
Yeah, it's definitely... I feel like it's almost not surprising wherever they made that. There was an article, or maybe it was at E3, they talked about with like the first step of making Fallout 4 for next gen hardware was like remastering Skyrim. And they just never, I guess, like put it out. So like it sounded like they pretty much completely did the whole remaster for Skyrim.
Yeah. So this specifically has maybe leaked. It's unclear, but there's definitely some rumors going around this week that that's going to be a thing, which would not be surprising at all.
Yeah.
And then, so as we get into the rest of these press conferences, we should stress this part of the podcast is being recorded Wednesday night, June 8th. So there is a lot of stuff that has already been announced this week, and I would assume, or it's safe to assume, that there is still quite a bit of stuff that has not been announced that will be announced by the time this airs Sunday morning. So, Collin, there are things that we're going to talk about here that might be announced by the time this actually goes live. That's just kind of the way it goes. There's not much we can really do about it.
Yeah.
There are actually some things that we're going to talk about that were announced this morning. So we'll be able to talk a little bit more in depth about those things. But let's just get started. Collin, E3 kicks off Sunday afternoon and Sunday night with EA and Bethesda. And then Monday morning, all of Monday, things get crazy. It begins with Microsoft. Monday morning, kind of Monday afternoon, depending on what time zone you're in. So, you and I had this conversation. You're like, we're just super excited for E3. We're super excited about video games. And we're, obviously we cover a very specific company in the games on those consoles and handheld. But, there's also some Microsoft stuff that we're, like, you and I just as gamers are excited about. Yeah. So we're gonna go through this. Now, some of this stuff has been rumored. Some of it's been leaked. Other things are just things that we're expecting to be there anyways. I mean, let's just go ahead and get started with the big stuff. Xbox One Slim.
Yeah, that's been pretty. I guess that was one report that came out. What was it, last week or so? I guess mostly just going to be a kind of like your slimmed down Xbox. That's like every 3 years after a console launch, you get like the redesign. One thing I'm going to be interested to see is like if they have like the Kinect port on there, and more importantly, I guess maybe more importantly, but just to me intriguingly, is if they put the what's the TV out so you can connect it to your TV. That would be interesting to see if they remove that, which I probably think they will. I still think there will probably be a Kinect port.
I don't know if you saw, like, moments before we started recording, there was articles going around that apparently they're discontinuing the DVR thing.
I did see that.
They're not going to continue working on that. So
yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But Xbox One Slim in general, like, not much to really say about it. Like you said, it's just kind of those things are just expected every few years.
Yeah.
Or like a couple years after the original console launches. But the thing that there is more interesting, obviously, is Xbox One Scorpio, which is the other part of this leak / rumor / whatever. This is specifically kind of along the lines of what we've been looking at with the PlayStation 4K or PS4 Neo, in that this is an Xbox One that is perhaps substantially more powerful, and set to release fall of next year.
Yeah, it's like 4 times as powerful.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, which, I think we kind of talked about it before, but like what could that be pointing to? Like, well, when you need to make a console more powerful to run something, what would it be? And probably VR. Was it heavily rumored, or people just speculating that it's going to be an Oculus thing?
I think it's maybe a little bit of a mix of both. I believe it was last E3, Oculus had a little like demonstration, and they talked about how they were going to be bundling Xbox One controllers with the Oculus Rift.
Yeah, yeah.
If you remember.
Yeah.
And there was definitely this clear like sense of like, okay. And to me, it's always made sense that, well, if Xbox or if Microsoft were ever to get into VR on Xbox, like Oculus would just make sense. Like Sony's obviously invested probably a ton of money into developing their own VR solution. But if you think about Xbox One and PC, kind of them moving forward in the direction of like having those two ecosystems merged, to me, it would make perfect sense that they would partner up with Oculus.
Yeah, I agree.
And they would be able to have Oculus working on Xbox One. that it just makes sense to me. I think so. You look at that, and you also look at like the thing. This is probably something we'll talk about a lot more, probably next episode, I would assume, when we've actually seen these things and like we see how each company kind of pitches these new consoles. What does it mean for the console like lifespan? What does it mean for console generations as we know them? Like, is this the beginning of a drastic switch? Like, because I think part of the Scorpio leak is talking about how Xbox generations would be blurred now, and it would be every few years or every couple years there would be a new, better Xbox that you could just get.
Yeah. I don't necessarily know if I see that happening, but I guess it's possible.
Yeah. It's weird. Like, part of me would be kind of excited about that prospect of like seeing the way we view console generations be totally changed.
Mm-hmm.
It's also kind of scary, in a way, for reasons that are probably obvious. Like, you buy a console, or most people I would assume probably buy consoles or stick to consoles because they don't want to deal with some of the things that come along with playing on PC.
Yeah.
Kind of having to upgrade a lot and like all those different little things. It's nice to just have a very simple and easy process of like, I bought this box, it just works.
Yeah.
So the idea of like upgrading every 2 years compared to like 5 or 6 for a console generation, it's gonna be different. It would probably take a lot of getting used to. And as we've said, we'll see how they pitch it. Like, we'll see how they like what's the sales pitch on this. How do they sell it to us? But fascinating nonetheless. If nothing else, Xbox One Scorpio though seemingly is going to be out a lot later than the PS4K.
Yeah, and when they're talking about Scorpio coming out fall 2017, would they even talk about that at E3? Like, would they really just come out and say like, hey, guess what, there's a better Xbox coming next year? And I just feel like that would completely, I don't know how the word to say it, but like gobble up the Xbox Slim and even the original Xbox One like market of like, well, why would we buy one, especially if it's that far off? Unless
that's
unless it was like a cheaper box, unless the Xbox One
Yeah.
Slim is like substantially cheaper.
I think like that's a fair argument, and something we'll probably talk about with PS4K as well.
Mm-hmm.
Is the PS4K is probably closer. There's even people who think it might come out this year. Like, do you announce that at E3, having it be, months later, and do you is that a concern that you would lose sales because people would wait? The Xbox Scorpio, because of how far off it is, maybe that isn't as big of a concern. Like, it's still a year and a half off potentially.
Yeah.
And so maybe that is less of a concern of people. They're like, well, and maybe they sell it as like, this is for a very specific audience, and maybe the OG Xbox One stays around for a while. It's so unclear. Like, that's the crazy thing. Like, it's kind of exciting, but also the crazy part about this is it's hard to really tell what this is going to even encompass.
Yeah.
Is this going to be a very limited thing for very specific, like, hardcore fans? Is it exclusively going to be like, hey, we want it VR? It's unclear, but we'll know more. We will certainly probably know more on Monday.
Yeah.
So let's go to the next thing. So there's kind of talks about like zombie games being at Microsoft.
Yeah.
The first of which, let's just get out of the way. This has leaked. Dead Rising 4.
Yeah. We were talking about it a little bit before the show started. That was probably going to be one of my predictions, that there would be a Dead Rising 4. I don't really think it's very surprising, and I think we both agreed that it would be Xbox, PC exclusive. Because
I mean, I imagine it'd be Capcom. What is it? Capcom Vancouver?
I think it's Vancouver.
Yeah. Like, makes total sense to me that it'd probably be PC and Xbox One.
Yeah.
I guess before we move on, part of this other Xbox Scorpio Slim, part of this other thing is that like I kind of mentioned the merging of PC and Xbox. There's kind of talks that basically going forward, Halo included and such, that would anything Microsoft developed for Xbox One would also come to PC.
That I'm not.
And
surprised
there'd be a merge, and so yeah, same. But so with Dead Rising 4, like we've straight up seen like posters and stuff leaked over the past couple days.
Yeah.
Do you think that guy looks like Frank West also?
It looked like him.
It certainly looks like him.
Yeah, and I think that's probably a smart way to go, because who was the guy in Dead Rising 2? Something Green. Chuck Green. Yeah, that was it. And then like I don't even know who this like. I don't know whoever the guy in 3 was. Like nobody knows who that was.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I felt like Dead Rising 3 would have been a bigger thing if it wasn't just swallowed up by that.
Well, it was around launch. Was it a launch game?
Yeah, it was a launch game. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dead Rising
yeah. So it was around launch. It was lots of stuff coming out. Yeah, it does kind of feel like Dead Rising 3 just kind of came and went.
Yep.
So 4 is one of those weird things, like you don't really think about it, and then someone's like, "Hey, what if they made Dead Rising 4?"
Yeah.
And you're like, "Yeah, yeah, sure. That of course they would."
Yep.
Sure. Why wouldn't they?
Yep.
So that totally fits. I guess like State of Decay was also something brought up. Maybe a new one of those.
Yeah.
I don't really know too much about that game
and
specifically.
The term like zombie online game is interesting for that, because didn't they mention like I thought I remember them talking about when they made, whoever the developer was, I can't remember, I think it's somewhere up northwest, they made State of Decay, and they actually wanted it to be like this online zombie game.
Yeah.
And it didn't really turn into that. So I'm wondering, we're going to get some dev diary like, with the new power of Xbox One, we're able to use the power of the cloud to give us
thanks to the cloud.
I don't know. It's like, I just feel like we're going to get something like that. They're like, hey, guess what? With this new hardware, we can realize what we wanted to do to begin with, kind of thing.
Okay. Yeah.
So I would say it's a pretty good shot that we'd get something like that.
Mm-hmm. So Forza Horizon 3. This is again also, it's the year for Horizon.
Yeah.
They kind of go on a bi-yearly thing between Forza Motorsport and then also Horizon. So this is the year for Horizon, and so that makes sense. Of course, I think we've already been explicitly told, like, yeah, new Forza game's gonna be there.
Mm-hmm.
Anything to say about this?
I've heard the Horizon games are really good.
Yeah.
I don't.
Like Horizon's really probably actually more in my wheelhouse.
Yeah, I'd say so than the Motorsport.
Mm-hmm. I'm much more of an arcadey.
Yeah, it's more
arcadey
than the Sim.
Yep.
I'm sure we'll get the guy, I can't remember his name, Dan.
So
something.
Dan
Greenewald.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
The only reason I know that is because he's on stage at every single E3 announcing.
I want them to lower. I want them they should drive a car through the audience, like the audience because they've lowered it from the ceiling.
Yeah,
before.
They have.
So they should have the audience like parked.
No, they're gonna have
the chairs. The chairs will like move. It'll be on a sliding panel on the floor.
It's gonna be Forza Horizon, and Phil Spencer is going. It's gonna be opening the show, and Phil Spencer is gonna get on a motorcycle. He's gonna ride down the audience. Yeah, he's gonna ride right down the aisle.
You know what the motorcycle is gonna be branded with?
And like an X. I don't know what.
Battletoads.
Oh, and he's gonna wear.
So what do you think about? What do you think about this? What do you think about it? So Battletoads was on the list of games that kind of leaked. There was a list of like Xbox One games basically, and kind of this is where the zombie online game moniker came from. Battletoads was on this list, being developed by Rare. This feels like Crash Bandicoot to me. This is like, not to compare the two as like, yeah, Battletoads is Microsoft's Crash. It's like, no, this feels similar to the way that Crash has been teased, the way Battletoads has been teased over the past year and a half or so.
Yeah.
You got Phil Spencer wearing the Battletoads shirt. You've got Sean Layden wearing the Crash shirt. You've got all these little like random teases for Battletoads.
Shovel Knight,
Battletoads, and
Rare Replay.
Killer Instinct, Rare Replay. Do you buy into Battletoads being like existing? Like, do you think there is a new one on the horizon?
This is just my logic of thinking. If it was just them in Shovel Knight, and if it was just Rare Replay, I feel like, yeah, that's probably it. Like that, and that's it. Like nobody else would have been there. But them including him in Killer Instinct,
Yeah.
to me, almost makes it feel like they are trying to make him like a character. Like they're trying to make Rash,
Like
the
maybe like
Battletoads,
trying
like
to
a
bring the
character.
awareness of Battletoads
Yeah,
back.
exactly.
Okay.
And I feel like this is kind of almost the same way. If this is kind of speaking of Crash and Battletoads, if Crash and or Battletoads were to come back, you will see a $20 downloadable game with them in it.
You took the words right out of my mouth.
Okay. Yeah.
Both of these, I assume. I think both of these are coming back. I
Yeah.
absolutely believe Battletoads and Crash.
Okay.
As crazy as it is to say, in the year 2016,
Yep.
I think both of these are probably going to get announced next week. Both of them, I think you're going to see as cheaper titles.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Battletoads it's so crazy to think that like we're sitting here seriously talking about a new Battletoads game possibly existing.
Yeah.
I was convinced it was going to get announced last year. It didn't.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot of teasing leading up to E3 last year. But now that it's kind of been brought back up again, it's like, okay, yeah, maybe. Like maybe they've been laying, like you said, laying the groundwork to try to make Battletoads a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Or like try to, just try to like remind people of Battletoads, and then they'll bring it out here at 2016 E3. Yeah. Sure, why not? I would like to see it. I think it'd be fun. It's such a strange thing, but
and maybe we're
super down
like,
for it.
So you're talking about like Rare would develop Battletoads, but like, and I guess we'll get to the Sony portion later. But like, do you want to maybe like speculate who would even make the Crash Bandicoot game?
Oh, we'll get there.
Okay, that's what I figured.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Okay, I didn't take a full look at the list, but I'm sure we'll get there.
Oh yeah, we got a long list ahead of us.
Okay,
so let's go ahead and move on. We did skip over one thing. General Ram, who I guess is a Gears of War character.
I think it's Rom. I think
Rom.
I think it's Rom. I might be wrong.
General Rom. You might be
wrong,
right,
but I might.
You
be
might be
wrong.
You might be.
What's the?
Oh, kill us now!
Who's
Killer Instinct.
who's the Bloodborne boss that you always hate?
Rom.
That's Rom too. Okay.
Yeah. Rom is the bane of my existence in Bloodborne. General Rom is coming to Killer Instinct. Well, maybe. Again, this is part of the leak. I don't have anything to say about this.
He's joining like a lot of Xbox characters. So you got Rash. You have the Arbiter came in, and now you got him. Wasn't there one other? Was there somebody else that got?
I mean, Battletoads. There was the Battletoads guy we just talked about. And then there was
the Arbiter is one.
Maybe, I don't remember, but you know what? Like, I think that's a good way. I think that's a cool way to get your characters into a fighting game.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Without having to make your own. Like, it's like, yeah, well, we got Killer Instinct.
Yeah.
Like, put him in there. Like, you don't have to worry about constructing some weird Smash clone.
Ooh. Oh. Punched in my heart.
So, how do you feel about Age of Empires?
Do you
have any connection to this series
I don't really know anything about Age of Empires. I've heard of it.
So as a kid, I grew up playing a lot of Age of Empires 2.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved it. It was probably my first RTS, I guess we would classify that as.
Okay.
It was probably the first type, like one of those kinds of games that I played. Fox, our dog, is also a major fan of Age of Empires.
Yeah. And wasn't this also kind of on mobile at some point? Or was this just an Xbox Live game? Or was this even a full release? I don't really remember.
I think the Age of Empires thing, there was like Age of Empires Online.
Okay.
A couple years back. I want to say that wasn't received super well.
Okay.
If I remember correctly. I didn't play it, but I seem to remember that game not doing so hot. Mm-hmm. Like reception wise. What would be interesting is, and this is again part of this kind of leaked list, if it was Xbox One and PC, like, I feel like do you feel like there's been RTS at all that have kind of been on a console that's worked like super well?
Well,
or any of this kind of game. My Halo Wars 2 is also.
That's where we're getting to.
In.
Yeah, I've heard. Yeah. I've played like barely a little bit of Halo Wars 2. I thought that worked pretty well when I played on 360. this is gonna sound
Oh,
really dumb.
so you've played Halo Wars.
I've played bits of Halo Wars.
A little bit. Okay.
Yeah, I've played like maybe it wasn't even it was maybe like a demo, might not even been the full game. But yeah, I've played like 1 or 2 stages of Halo Wars 2, or of Halo Wars 1, excuse me. This is gonna sound like really weird and random. Like there was this Army Men game that was on, like, you remember those Army Men games? There was one there was one on GameCube that I bought at like a garage sale that was an RTS, and it was like actually worked really well on like GameCube. I don't remember what it was called, but it was just like Army Men RTS or something like that, and it worked well.
Yeah, I'm hopeful. Like again, Age of Empires, I'd end up playing on PC if it exists and is good, But I would totally be down for a new one. Like I said, Age of Empires 2 was like the one that I played, and I loved it. I played so much of that game. I could not get enough of it. It was like that similar time frame to Roller Coaster Tycoon also, where like I just played a lot of those kinds of games. And it was fantastic. But I'm always kind of interested in like seeing if maybe there's a game that can come along to kind of bring that genre to console in a really interesting way, in a way that works like super well.
Yeah.
I was just kind of as an off little tangent here. I actually started playing a little bit of Prison Architect, the full version on PC this past week. Well, I played Tropico 5 through Plus, and that's kind of cool. Then I was like, well, I actually want to play Prison Architect and play a little bit of the full version before this PS4 version comes out. Mm-hmm. It's super cool. Still really into it. But now I'm like really excited to see what the console version of that game is like.
Yeah.
Because I imagine that's probably a game that actually is kind of difficult to figure out like the control scheme for. But anyways, would you be excited for an Age of Empires game?
Probably not, honestly.
Okay. How about Sea of Thieves?
This is one that I'd almost have to like rewatch the E3 reveal thing last year. This is the Rare pirate game. I guess I just would have rather seen them do something on their old IP, because I remember when that trailer first started, I thought it was like, is this like some weird like Banjo-Kazooie first person thing where like the camera's gonna zoom out and it's gonna be Banjo? That's just always like my first thought. I remember that.
When that trailer started rolling, about 5 or 6 seconds in, I was like, wait, this isn't Banjo.
Yeah.
Because it felt like it was one of those things where it felt like such a done deal. Like everyone just assumed they were doing Banjo. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I'm okay with. Like, so the kind of the rumor, the murmurs around Sea of Thieves is that it could possibly be a not MMO kind of online multiplayer kind of Destiny or Division
like
style.
Persistent online thing is what I've heard. Yeah.
What was the name they gave Destiny? It was like world shooter, world FP. It was some weird like world first person shooter.
Oh, I have no idea.
This was way back when they first announced it. They were like trying to spin it like it's not an MMO.
Yeah, I usually is what I hear is like persistent online shooter or something like that.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty decent title for it.
This reminds me, it's almost like they got beat to the punch, kind of. But it reminds me of the Terraria devs game they put out.
Pixel Piracy?
Pixel Piracy, yeah. Kind of just like...
I think it's going to be a bit more expansive than that, but yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I think I like if it is kind of that like persistent, kind of open world multiplayer game. I like the concept of like a raid being you've got your own ship with your pirate crew, and you go and like you storm another player's ship, and you try to like take over or something. And like I wonder, like these huge pirate battles, like that could be kind of cool.
Like I wonder how that's gonna work. Like, are you gonna have like a flintlock pistol? Are you gonna have like, a big old sword? And I don't know. I just I just wonder not? I just wonder how like that combat's gonna work. I guess I don't know.
It's the thing, and it's like you look at Assassin's Creed Black Flag, right? And that was received super well. It was a pirate game with an Assassin's Creed name on it. Yeah. Sometimes you hear people say that.
Yeah.
But we haven't really had like a really good just like pirate game. It seems like to me.
Yeah.
Perhaps I'm forgetting something. I often think about that Pirates of the Caribbean game that got canceled.
Oh,
that was looking pretty good.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm super excited just to see more of it. I don't know if it's necessarily something I would ever end up playing, but Pirates is an untapped thing.
Well, Curtis, you're obviously forgetting about the greatest pirate game of all time on the PlayStation 3, Tales from Monkey Island.
Disney Infinity, Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah, something like that.
Playset.
Which
actually was legitimately great.
Guybrush Threepwood, best pirate of all time. Can't overlook that.
He was even so good that he appeared in other games.
What did he appear in?
A recent game. A very recent game.
What am I thinking of?
Is it okay to spoil like an Easter egg for a game that came out like a month ago?
Oh, I think you might have just said it, but sure, I guess.
Spoilers for recent Sony exclusives. There's totally that Guybrush like Threepwood. I can't even say his name.
Guybrush Threepwood.
He's totally like in a painting in Uncharted 4.
Oh, okay. I guess I didn't even.
Or there's like a Threepwood or something, or like a Guybrush, or something like that, and like part of the name's covered up.
I didn't even see that part. I didn't even hear about that. That's awesome.
Totally that.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, he's a good man. That Guybrush. Whatever.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
So, and we're just gonna kind of get into the stuff that we're expecting to see now.
Yeah.
So ReCore was announced, and with a CG trailer, we've seen nothing of it. Part of the announcement trailer was it's in development at Armature, from the makers of Metroid Prime.
Yep.
And also, Keiji Inafune.
Yeah, that's kind of a weird combination.
But like to me, that screamed like they know exactly what they're doing, putting those names there.
Yeah.
Now, of course, this came at a time where I feel like Inafune's name wasn't quite as looked down upon as it is right now. I would say, and so it still kind of maybe made sense to put his name there. And the Armature thing, like, it's one of those things where I always kind of am a little like, I don't know. Sometimes it's kind of weird when it's like, yeah, this is from the team that made this highly acclaimed game, and it's like, yeah, but like, it's probably like 5 people from that developer who went and made an indie studio. Like, like sometimes like just saying from the makers of Metroid Prime like doesn't necessarily mean a lot.
Yeah.
That said, the ReCore CG trailer was probably one of my favorite things from last year's Microsoft press conference.
Oh, okay.
It was like the thing, along with like Scalebound, it was like that was the thing that I'm like, I want to see that. I want to know what the heck that is.
Yeah.
Because it just like the character looks cool. Her little dog robot pet thing looks cool.
Yeah.
Everything about that was like, all right, this actually looks interesting to me. So I am hoping, I would expect this to show up.
Yeah, I would too. Do you think we're gonna get like a gameplay demo or just maybe another
think
trailer?
So. Yeah, I think they gotta show what that game is.
Yeah.
I hope. It's been like they haven't even talked about it.
Yeah,
I don't think they've even mentioned it at all. Yeah. So I would love for that to have some sort of demonstration. Maybe you open on that or Scalebound or something. And I would guess it probably isn't coming out this year. Maybe early next year.
Yeah, I'd probably assume that. Yeah.
And this kind of goes hand in hand with Scalebound. Also a game that we've seen gameplay of that. I'd expect to see more. Maybe I think they teased some multiplayer at the end of their last gameplay demonstration.
Was it like TGS or is it Gamescom or one of those?
It might have been Gamescom.
They had like multiple guys going out and shooting dinosaurs or whatever.
So maybe we'll see some more of that. I imagine that game probably looks a little bit better than it did. I know, I didn't really mind it. I know some people were pointing out that the frame rate was kind of weird.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that game's fine.
That's already announced that it's a 2017 game, right?
So that's early 2017.
Okay, yeah. So I figured.
We do know that. I'd like to see kind of the RPG kind of stuff going on in that game. So yeah, ReCore and Scalebound are 2 games I expect to see more of at the press conference. Probably another demonstration of it. Both of those games, those are of the Microsoft stuff. Those are the 2 for me that, above most everything else, I am super excited for.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll ever be able to play them.
Yeah.
But either way, those are 2 that I'm yeah, I want to see more of those. I don't know where those two sit for you.
Honestly, not too interested in either.
Okay.
I honestly couldn't even say which one I had more excitement for. I don't really just have that much interest. I mean, I'll watch their demos and watch their trailers, but I can't say I'm like looking forward to them super hotly.
Right. So we're getting there's a handful of other things some of these we'll probably just get through super quick. We talked a little bit about Halo Wars 2 very shortly. I mean, you've played Halo Wars 1. Is this something that piques your interest at all? Is there anything here that you'd be looking for to be like, yeah, this is gonna get me excited?
Yeah, I just hope it's like simplified, I guess, because I guess there's like there's other RTSs like stuff like StarCraft and Warcraft 3 and things like that are just like so expansive, and there's like so many keys and so many abilities that's like I don't want to deal with it. Like I don't want to take all this time to learn it, but like when you do like Halo Wars, it was like, okay, here's these bases, you can build this, like here's what you can build, and there's like 5 choices. And it's like, it's not like, oh, you need to like it might just need to be like, oh, you need to build this so this level character can rank up and then can use this ability or something, rather than like, well, this character needs to be here to use this ability, and if you use this other character's special ability, he can like I guess I want it more simplified. Like I don't want this like massive dictionary of things I have to learn to understand what Halo Wars is. So I'd say maybe that I'm definitely looking forward to the demo. And this is made by, is this the Alien Isolation people? Who is that developer again?
Collin, don't remind me.
I'm just saying.
You're right. Don't.
Okay. What's their names?
Crap, I don't remember.
Send your hate mail to us, I guess. Collin, I know this.
We should have an Alien Isolation too.
Not
Starts with a C.
Is it Certain Affinity? That's not Certain Affinity.
Something Affinity. So there. Okay, Gears 4. Do you have any? I thought the Gears 4 thing last year was like, that's kind of cool. I guess I'm not a huge Gears fan though. You have any attachment to Gears at all? I
played a little bit of the Gears 4 beta at a friend's house, and I could not care less.
Okay. So we'll skip over that. There's some indie stuff here that we kind of wrote down.
Mm-hmm.
Cuphead, I think, looks phenomenal.
Yes, absolutely.
It's also a game that it's like, just give me the release date. I just want to know when it's coming out. I don't want to see any more of that game. I want to know when it's coming out. When can I spend money on Cuphead?
I'll tease this. There's a teaser maybe for the prediction show that I have something for Cuphead that we can talk about at the end of the show. So
look forward to it. Inside is another game. This is from the Limbo people, right?
Yeah, Playdead.
Playdead.
Yeah.
This is something we haven't really heard much of, I think, in a while.
Was it trailer 2 years ago, I think?
Yeah, I think it was announced 2 years ago. Maybe it's like a few updates here and there, but maybe expect a release date of that. Maybe a bit more information there. Hopefully, it's coming along pretty well.
Yeah.
Below is another one. This was announced a while ago, 3 years, I think.
Yeah, that was 2013. Yeah.
This is Cappy. Below is something that again looks really, really great. I'm wondering, like, is it? It's been taking a long time, so I don't know what to take from that. Hopefully it's coming along fine.
Yep.
But I would also hope that it's probably coming out soon, or at least coming out this year. Because that is definitely like on my radar of like, oh, that game looks great, and I really like Cappy.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got Ghost of a Tale, which is another kind of indie game that's set to come out this year on PC, and then like later on Xbox One. I don't know. I think that's like a very, very small team. Might even be one person. But it's something I've been pretty excited about in general. So maybe some more information there, just in general, not necessarily at their conference. Tacoma this was on stage last year, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they had 4 like main indie games they were showing off on stage. One of them was like Beyond Eyes, and one of them might have been like Super Hot or something. But I'm pretty sure Tacoma was one of them.
Okay. And this is something that we would maybe get some more information, maybe a release date, depending on if it's getting close to being done or not.
Yeah.
And then the last thing we have is HoloLens.
Yeah. I feel like they almost seems like almost market this as like, okay, Oculus is the thing you're gonna get with the new Xbox or something, but like HoloLens is like the thing you really want.
Or HoloLens is the thing that's like still a few years off.
Yeah, I feel like they might mention both. I feel like it'd be weird for them to show a HoloLens like Minecraft demo like they did last year and then just not say anything about it this year.
It'd have to be something new.
Yeah, you'll get what's his face? The guy with the Kinect on his foot. The guy.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
That guy, Kudo Sonoda. He'll say like, HoloLens is like the greatest augmented reality experience, and we're gonna show you how. And then
so
like
real quick, footage. As we do need to move on to because we spent a lot of time already on Microsoft.
Yeah, we did.
Anything Minecraft related? Do you think? Maybe this spoils predictions, but do you think anything Minecraft related might be here? Other than like VR, or I mean, maybe Minecraft VR. Like
that's what I was thinking.
How crazy would that be?
If they have the Oculus partnership, they'll probably show Minecraft in VR.
All right. So let's move on. That's Microsoft press conference. Maybe a little bit of a wrap up for me personally, Collin. I think this is probably going to have the best pacing of any press conference. That's kind of what Microsoft for me does really well. Is they know how to keep a show moving at a really good pace. It feels like it's always enjoyable to watch, even if I'm not super interested.
I agree.
In a lot of the games that they're showing.
Yeah.
I feel like they're just really good at putting a show together.
Yeah.
That's one reason why I always like, pretty much when I sit down and we're minutes away from a Microsoft press conference, I always feel like, yeah, this is gonna be pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Even if I'm not super interested in the stuff that they're showing, I still feel pretty confident about it.
Yeah. So I definitely look forward to the Microsoft press conference.
Yep.
Every year.
Yep. And Phil Spencer's great. Always like hearing him talk. He's great. He's arguably the best thing that's happened to Xbox.
Yep, I agree.
In a long time. So let's go to Ubisoft. Ubisoft's fun. Aisha Tyler's back in action. I love her. She is so great.
Yeah.
She's fantastic. Yeah. They killed it when they got her. It was like, all right, you're good. You're good, Ubisoft. These are always fun to watch. They always have like the cringy moments.
Mm-hmm.
I think more so than other press conferences. But it's not E3 without it.
Yep.
So let's just get going. There is some, like, honestly, Ubisoft's always the one that I feel like, man, they could just kill it.
Yeah.
They could just show, they have all this, like, even though Ubisoft is kind of maybe not looked upon super fondly right now by most video game players, I always just feel like they just have such a good lineup.
Yeah,
in general. So
they have a lot of studios,
they got
projects.
They got a lot of projects going on.
Yeah.
One of which is one we haven't heard about since the last E3. One I'm very excited for. South Park, The Fractured But Whole.
Oh, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it now.
You see, Collin, the joke is... So this is in the way that the Stick of Truth kind of parodied D&D and kind of pen and paper tabletop games. The Fractured But Whole looks like more of a superhero take.
Okay.
Now this is not being developed by Obsidian.
Yes, this is like Ubisoft San Francisco.
Ubisoft something, yeah. So that is my... If there was ever like one thing about this game that I'm like, uh-oh, that's the one thing.
Yeah.
However, I think, you still got Matt and Trey writing, like, so I still have, like, confidence in it. I imagine they opened the show with this game, probably a new gameplay demo.
Yeah, I think they opened it last year with that
trailer. Opened it last year. It was total shock.
Yeah.
Because they had said, like, yeah, we're not making another South Park game, and here we are.
Yep.
So what, South Park, The Fractured But Whole, for Collin, what do you want them to show?
Probably nothing, and for them to move on to the next thing.
Oh man!
Oh, I just said it. Oh, yeah, I said it.
What are you doing?
I don't care about South Park.
Okay.
There's only been one episode of South Park that I ran into, and I think the premise is that is it Cartman who's the main guy?
Yeah.
I'm really bad with this. Really bad with South Park. But like
he great.
He wanted a Wii. And then he like froze himself in ice to like, and then he woke up like years in the future, and like all he wanted was just like still the Wii, and there were like factions after him and stuff.
They're all fighting over the NX.
Yeah, something like that. But that's the only episode I've ever.
So I guess it'll be cool. Yeah, I want to see more of this. I want to see this game in action. Maybe we'll get a release time frame. I think it's looking at like early next year, probably.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, Q1 2017 is really shaping up to be something else.
See, how much is that really true, and how much do we just say that every
Collin,
year? We say that every year.
Collin,
though,
I'm just gonna say one word.
Persona.
Persona.
Oh. One of those.
Anyways, so South Park: The Fractured Bit Hole. I expect to see it there. I'd expect probably a blowout of information, I would assume.
Yeah.
I think they've already confirmed that it's coming out this fiscal year, so it's coming. Hopefully it won't get pushed back at all. But Watch Dogs 2. So this is an interesting one because unlike most of the other games we'll be talking about tonight, we got to see this game early this morning.
Yep.
Or just hours ago. So Watch Dogs 2 is official. We have seen it in action. It does take place in San Francisco. I don't remember the guy's name, the main character. It's a new main character. It's something like Holloway.
Marcus Holloway?
Marcus Holloway.
That was
so he is... Here's the interesting thing. You and I both have played Watch Dogs. You platinumed Watch Dogs.
I platinum Watch Dogs.
You said you, quote, loved it?
I don't know about love.
Liked it.
I'll always say I really liked it.
You really liked it. I hated Watch Dogs.
Oh, man.
But you and I think, probably come from a similar perspective on Watch Dogs, and I at least have always been very hopeful because I think the premise is really strong. And I've been excited for Watch Dogs 2 because I feel like they could really... It could be an Assassin's Creed to Assassin's Creed 2 situation, you know? So we got to see it in action this morning, or this afternoon. One thing I found interesting, so Aiden... I guess I don't really know what your views on Aiden Pierce are, but, it feels like he's kind of universally hated as a character.
I liked Aiden. I just thought they could have, they just could have given him more personality, and, even a sequel, I think, would have done that. But I am kind of disappointed to see that, I guess I just see this new guy, and I just feel like he's just not likable as much as, some people would. Yeah, I don't think he's likable.
So I was going to go in a totally different direction. It felt like, and maybe this is just them being very aware of the reception of Aiden Pierce, the way they described this new character, Marcus Holloway, they talked about he's kind of outgoing. I heard someone refer to him as charming or something like that.
Oh, man.
Which is great. But they talked about, his upbringing and where he comes from and kind of his views on the world. And it found it so totally different to Aiden. Where Aiden was, this one-man show. He's all, very moody, just,
gruff.
Gruff. And so, but it felt like, it seems like they're selling Marcus as this guy who's, no, he's willing to work together with people. He's, open, he's very outgoing, charismatic. Yeah. And it felt like that they were specifically trying to paint the picture of this Marcus Holloway guy as being someone very likable. And again, I mean, the comparison's been made by many, many people, even since the first Watch Dogs came out. It felt like an Altair to Ezio situation.
Yeah, true.
Now, we have not... I don't even think we've really heard this guy talk that much, so we'll probably see more of that at the press conference. But what we saw today, Collin, I'm interested to know what you think of kind of the 15 or so minutes we saw today.
I don't know, man. I saw it, but I was just like, I don't know. I will probably play Watch Dogs, but as of the games that are coming out this fall, I was not ready to say Watch Dogs is one of those games I'm picking up because, of the maybe 2, maybe 3 games I pick up every fall, I'm not ready to say that Watch Dogs is going to be that one that I pick up right now. So.
Interesting. So, man, we have... I feel like we have such totally different reactions to this. This is really interesting.
Yeah.
In part of this, I went in wanting this to be good, or wanting to really like what I saw. I said this before we started recording. The stuff they were talking about today, some of the new mechanics they're introducing, some of the new... kind of the way they're approaching this game. In my head, I kept thinking over and over again, this is what Watch Dogs should be.
Yeah.
I think San Francisco, really, I think that's a good setting in general when you think about hacking in anyways. Also, it looked really nice. Like there was color in the way that there wasn't in Watch Dogs 1 in Chicago. It felt like. Yeah. It just the world itself looks so much more visually interesting. I was listening very, very shortly to the GameSpot stream because I guess they had actually seen some of this game beforehand, and so they knew a little bit more about what was going on. They talked about, I guess the world's going to be a lot bigger than it was, much larger than it was in the first game. But I don't know, like just there's like some parkour elements they're adding to the way that you move, which I thought looked kind of slick. There's the kind of the remote control devices that he has. One of which, the one that rolled across the ground, reminded me of Metal Gear Solid 4.
Oh, the little MK whatever thing. Yeah.
But they talk about like non-lethal options and stuff like that, and we'll dig into Watch Dogs 2 more. Probably on the next podcast because we'll see a lot more. I just figured we'd get some brief thoughts out. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm not gonna say that this is like one of my most anticipated games for this holiday. It's coming out November 15th, but it definitely feels like I feel much more open to it now.
Yeah.
Like I feel like there's a very real possibility that this could actually really hit the mark for me and what I want from Watch Dogs. Considering all those years ago when we first saw it, like 4 years ago at this point.
Yeah.
So, another game that I imagine will be a big focus at their press conference is For Honor.
Yeah, it's the kind of third-person melee-focused kind of
big multiplayer.
Yeah.
Skirmish.
Very. I don't know if I want to say skill, but like very tactical. I would say.
This is something that from pretty much anyone I ever hear who actually has got to play this game, everyone has walked away super impressed with it.
Yeah.
We haven't played it. I don't think you have, at least.
No, I haven't. I just remember when we first saw this game, I was like when we didn't know anything about it and we saw the people running at each other and we didn't see the combat, we're just like, oh no, they made a Dynasty Warriors game. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
That was my first thought, and then you actually saw there was some
once you see it, it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it's not so much that.
So and this is I don't want to get too much into predictions. Now that this game's been announced, it's now a year later. You got to bet they want to show it again, so they're going to want to show something maybe new, something different, or maybe a new class type or something. But I heard someone say something a few weeks ago on another podcast that really stuck with me. It sounds like For Honor is a game that you really got to get into people's hands for them to understand.
True.
So maybe when we get to predictions, we can talk more about that.
Okay.
Because I think perhaps there might be a push to get For Honor out to more people to play.
Ooh.
Okay. And that maybe that they can use that as a way to really sell you on the vision of the game. Do you think For Honor is going to come out this year? Has any chance of coming out this year? Or do you think it might be 2017?
I don't know, because you kind of just look at my first thought was well, what are the other big Ubisoft games coming? And it's you just kind of have Watch Dogs, so there might be a chance that For Honor could come out this year.
You know what?
I don't know. Because you would think they maybe have something other than.
Because Assassin's Creed's not this year.
Yeah, Assassin's Creed is not this year.
The Division is out, so you get you'll get DLC and stuff for it.
Well, we'll talk about coming up next, but Ghost Recon Wildlands, I don't think.
So good, yeah. I mean, Ghost Wildlands also. We're gonna get updates. We're probably gonna get a new gameplay demo.
Yeah.
Learn a little bit more about what that game is, but I, like you, don't think that game's coming out this year.
Yeah, I don't either. Yeah.
Any interest in Wildlands?
I had a little bit. I wasn't really that big of a Ghost Recon person.
Yeah, same.
I even played the one that everybody says is the best, which was Advanced Warfighter or whatever that is. Mm-hmm. It was a PS3 launch game kind of around that time.
Just the thing about Wildlands when they showed it off, we'll get there when we get to the end of Ubisoft's press conference, but we know that okay, Watch Dogs was kind of single player focused, but you have the Division, and then you had Rainbow Six
Siege, yeah.
And you have Ghost Recon Wildlands, and they were definitely all very multiplayer focused. But like when I looked at Wildlands when they showed it, to me it was like, man, this feels very much like The Division.
Yeah, I can see that.
It seemed like so similar, and maybe that was just the way the trailer was kind of there to pitch it. But yeah, I don't know. It's I also think the similarity to the Division will continue, as it'll probably be a game that won't come out for a long time.
Yeah, I agree.
But there's that. So speaking of the Division, I imagine we'll get updates on like future DLC or expansions.
Yeah, probably some new big expansion.
You know, it sounds like the Division kind of came out, and I don't really hear people talk about it ever at all.
It was hot. It was kind of big for a little bit.
For like a few weeks there, and then
nobody really talks about it anymore. But it was kind of big for a little bit, when I remember.
Yeah. So I don't. Yeah, it's weird. It's a weird one.
Yeah.
But I imagine there would be more stuff on that. Eagle Flight. Do you remember this?
Yeah, what everybody calls, or at least I call the
Assassin's
Creed bird flying game.
Yeah. So this was announced, I believe, at PlayStation Experience.
Yeah, I want to say so. That or Paris Games Week, one of those two.
One of the two. It is a VR game where you fly around the city.
Yeah.
Apparently, I don't know.
There's some I thought I heard something like there's some like air combat thing where like you're shooting other birds or something.
Okay.
I might have completely just had like a lucid dream last night or something, but I thought somebody had mentioned that. Let's just go with that for now.
So I imagine VR is going to be a major push at this E3. I think without a doubt.
Yeah. I'd say
for better or worse, it'll be a major push. Now, hopefully, it won't take over too many press conferences, but if I were to guess, we'll see probably a couple of VR games at Ubisoft.
Well, I think the reason you say that is because you look at any platform peripheral launch, who's there with a lot of games is Ubisoft. Yeah.
Yes.
Sometimes it's shovelware, sometimes it is. But usually
Eagle
they
Flight
have that.
Is definitely like that'll probably not saying it's gonna have like a big stage presence, like it'll probably be like in like a really quick trailer or something, but
yeah,
or maybe there'll be a sizzle reel like here's like Ubisoft's bringing 4 games to VR in the coming year, and then like Eagle Flight will be one of them.
Yeah,
there will be like some weird Watch Dogs thing. But I imagine that to be a thing. Just Dance, the yearly Just Dance, of course. Let's take a guess.
Oh man!
Impromptu prediction. Just Dance 2017.
Yeah.
They bring out a league of dancers on stage.
Yeah.
What song? You're going with this. What song do they play?
Oh man, that's a good one. Oh, that's a good prediction and like good stopping point. Man, if it's Owl City, man, I'm just gonna lose my mind.
I heard Owl City on the radio like a week ago, and I thought of you. Yes. I turned it up and I just laughed.
Yep.
I laughed hysterically all the way home.
Yep. Owl City. Probably somebody like, I don't know. They'll probably put like Meghan Trainor out there or something like that. Like I don't really, I only know that like one song that she did, but I guess she's got some other hit songs that are right now.
That's a good guess. I like that guess.
Yeah,
because that would totally be in line with the kind of the kind of music you would see. Okay, sure.
Yeah.
I don't have anything better. That's good.
Okay.
I like that. How do you feel about Rayman, or even just the Rabbids series?
Do
you think that there's any chance at all we could see something new?
Didn't they have that like characters? TV series Rabbids?
Yeah.
Wasn't there something Rabbids?
Yeah, I don't know whatever came of that. It was for Kinect, I believe.
I could maybe see another Rayman Legends thing, like
I would love that. Yeah.
You probably don't like my thoughts about Rayman. I've played Origins and a little bit of Legends, and I was
some of the best. I mean, they're some of the best 2D platformers in recent years.
I was just playing it, and I was like, man, I could be playing Donkey Kong Country right now.
Collin.
I know. I'm sorry.
I mean, Donkey Kong's great.
Yes.
Don't get me wrong. I love the recent Rayman games.
Yeah, they're good. They get hard after a while too.
Just good, Collin.
Yeah.
Anyways,
they're good. No, I don't think they're great.
I would love for another Rayman, but I fear that the chances are very slim.
Yeah.
For that, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Okay. So the next one's fun. Speaking of very slim to no chance, Beyond Good and Evil 2.
when you talk about like the games that thought nobody would happen, like the Shenmues, the Last Guardians, the Final Fantasy VII remakes.
So I want to bring this up.
This is one of those games.
Mm-hmm. So I was at work. It was Sunday night, I believe, and me and one of my friends were talking. It was just me and him work Sunday nights together, and he's a big Xbox fan. We talk a lot of video games, and I was like, so if you had like one dream announcement, it doesn't have to be realistic at all. What would be that one thing you would want to see announced this year? And it did not take very long, but he said Beyond Good and Evil 2.
Wow.
And I gave him a high five. I was like, you bet. So, I mean, it's one of those weird things because it gets brought up in interviews a lot.
Yeah.
Like Michelle and Sal is like, yeah, I would still want to make that.
Mm-hmm.
And they talk like it gets brought up like every few months. And so like as if it's a thing that's like, yeah, this is still going to happen. We just don't know when.
Yeah.
The other thing I want to bring up about this, and this would maybe point at this game not showing up this year. There was a rumor about 2 months ago that Beyond Good and Evil 2 in a Bayonetta 2 situation could be funded by Nintendo.
Oh,
and
that's right. I remember that.
exclusive to the NX. That was a rumor that like was there. There was a few different sources on it, a few different people reporting it. Destructoid, namely, being one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, Destructoid was asked by Ubisoft to take it down. But it never, like, no one never came out and outright denied it. It was never something that was, like, proven outright wrong, at least from what I understand.
Yeah.
Because I even looked it up recently just to check. Now, I would imagine if that's true, we wouldn't see it this year, all things considered.
I don't think so.
Especially because I don't think Nintendo would want Ubisoft to be like, yeah, here's Beyond Good and Evil 2, and like have the NX be there.
Why not?
But at the same time, you know, Ubisoft did put out Watch Dogs. Like they showed Watch Dogs before those new consoles were announced.
Yeah.
And that caused a lot of really interesting discussion. But
mm-hmm.
do we? I mean, whether it's there or not, do we think Beyond Good and Evil 2 exists in any shape or form at this point?
Probably in like a concept stage, working probably like a pet project by like 5 people at a major Ubisoft studio, but I can't say I can't say that there are a substantial amount of people working and designing a Beyond Good and Evil 2.
I would love to believe it to be true. I'm going to impromptu prediction. This is not something I wrote down in advance.
Okay.
Beyond Good and Evil 2 does not show up at their press conference, but that title is spoken in an interview after the fact.
Okay.
Not as an announcement, but there's like someone asks a question and Beyond Good and Evil 2 is brought up.
Yeah.
As we're looking into options, or like we're still, you know, hard at work at trying to get that game to work in today's climate, or, you know, something along those lines.
Yeah.
The next one's fun. UbiArt. So UbiArt was this really great engine they used it for Child of Light and Valiant Hearts specifically. Those were both about 2 years ago at this point.
Yeah.
It is also Rayman Origins and Rayman Legends.
Yep. Runs
on the UbiArt engine. It is an engine that is, the games that have come out for it are beautiful. Yep. They are really great looking games. All 2D. We know that the Child of Light team is working on something. Child of Light came out over 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I would imagine, or wager to guess, that we will see a new game from them, whether it's Child of Light 2 or something totally different. But I would imagine it would be something new from them, probably downloadable, using the UbiArt engine. So it'll probably be very, very nice looking 2D art.
I would probably agree with that. Was it like the Montpellier studio or something like that?
I believe
was
so.
One of them. Yeah. That's a very, I don't want to maybe say safe bet, but like I would probably, that's probably going to happen.
Yeah. Anything specifically from that you would want? I don't know if you're a big Child of Light. Did you play Child of Light and Valiant Hearts?
I think I played a demo of Child of Light. I had Valiant Hearts because when that was on Plus, I've had that for a long time downloaded, but I never played it.
Both of those I would easily recommend. I love Child of Light.
Yeah.
I love that game. If they announced Child of Light 2, I would lose my mind.
Yeah.
It would be so exciting. That would be fantastic. I would recommend both. Valiant Hearts, definitely, since you have it.
Yeah.
You should check that out. It's pretty great. Both of them are. So there's no Assassin's Creed this year. But you think, yeah, I know it's crazy.
Yeah.
But do you think there's possibility, although maybe slim, that they would tease something? Maybe tease what is coming next year, or do you think maybe there's a very small scale Assassin's Creed game that might be announced? The movie is coming out in December, and so whether it's maybe a mobile phone game or something smaller in scale, just something, because you would imagine, one, kudos to Ubisoft to recognize that game needs a break.
Yeah.
I think, you can argue that it took too long to do it. The fact that they're doing it, I really appreciate that, for one. Especially coming off a year with a really good Assassin's Creed game. Like, that's...
Yeah.
I really appreciate that a lot.
Yeah.
Do you think there's any chance that we might see something Assassin's Creed related, even if it's a very smaller scaled down title, because you would imagine Ubisoft would probably want something to go along with the movie? Or do you think, as crazy as it would be, this would be the first E3 in God knows how long that we have not seen Assassin's Creed at Ubisoft stage?
I'm really conflicted because I think I want to say, like, yeah, like we'll probably get a phone game. Like, I think that might, but that's kind of hit or miss. But like, you do want to say, like, yeah, we'll probably get like an Assassin's Creed 5 like trailer or something like that. But then, like,
well, it wouldn't be 5, because I think they did away with numbering.
Well, I didn't know if like they would have these spinoffs like Unity and Syndicate, then they would come back with an official 5.
Yeah, I think.
But then
well, go ahead.
Well, sorry, I was gonna say I just feel like it would take away maybe like
maybe the Watch Dogs.
The push. Watch Dogs, yeah, the Watch Dogs push, exactly.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm not expecting a tease either. I would rather there not be one.
Yeah.
I want them to come out next year and blow everyone away.
Yeah.
And be like, this is what we can do, if we have more time and stuff. So we got a couple more things at Ubisoft. Both of these are so one, in Ubisoft fashion, they are really, really fond of doing the one more thing. And having that one more thing, whether it's a new IP or not, typically it's something that is somehow not leaked. Somehow. But it's always something that like is so different. Well, at first, it was always something that was so different. Like, you think about Watch Dogs and The Division. No matter how those games turned out, like, when they showed those games, like, it got your attention.
Yeah.
And you can, nowadays we can kind of be more cynical and be like, yeah, but that wasn't real, or, all that stuff was faked. And yeah. But I think back of, like, what I love about E3 is those moments. Like, I will always remember 4 years ago when Watch Dogs showed up, and it was like, dude, this is a brand new IP. It's such a cool concept. Like, and of course, no. And you also had the idea of, like, people were like, there was no way that game looks that good. Not on PS3, not on 360. Like, maybe PC. So there was, like, the speculation of new consoles. There was all this really, really interesting stuff around there. And they kind of replicated that with The Division, because that was also just a really, really impressive demonstration, real or not, So we know that there is a new IP that they plan on announcing this year at E3. They have kind of compared it to The Division in its multiplayer focus. So I imagine it'll be similar in that respect. Do you? I imagine this will probably be the one last thing. I think that probably fits that mold better than anything else here. What do you have any guesses what this could be? Because I've got one, but I'll let you go first.
In the new IP, I'm not sure, but in the fact of like the one last thing, you had the Watch Dogs in 2012, but then you really look at it, the last 3 years have been Tom Clancy stuff. The Division, Siege, and then Wildlands. Wildlands, yeah. But so I don't know if this would be the new last thing. Because even like their new IP last year, For Honor wasn't a last thing. That was kind of in the middle, kind of beginning.
Yeah.
I really have no idea what it could be. Honestly.
So I've got a guess.
Okay.
I think Sea of Thieves might have competition.
Ooh.
If we go with the kind of open world multiplayer focused pirate game.
They're going to take... Okay, I see where you're going
I think
with
you
it.
look at the reception of Black Flag.
Yep.
And you think about everyone being like, man, what a great pirate game. And I think like you think about, okay, if they're comparing it to like The Division or Destiny or something like that, where it's very multiplayer, kind of not MMO, but kind of sort of there as well. Do you think of like that kind of game? And like what they've done, so like what could they do that's kind of different? They've got the groundwork with Black Flag of like some mechanics. I think my prediction for this would be that it would be a pirate game, like a big open world multiplayer pirate game. And they would show like an evolution of the ship combat from Black Flag and some other, you have your pirate, your sea shanties and whatnot.
Yeah.
That would be my guess if I had to guess.
That's a good guess. Yeah.
So we got one last thing.
That's a good one. Yep. Added kind of late, but Prince of Persia?
No.
I think if there is a chance for a Prince of Persia, it would probably be an UbiArt Engine game.
Yeah, you know what? Actually, yeah, I'm glad you said that because I thought about that immediately after I said no. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is I think that would be a really good series to try to, do the UbiArt stuff in. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I love Prince of Persia. Like, I'd be down for more.
Never was that big a fan of it, but, I appreciate it.
Yeah. I would like to see a new one, but it's it's like we said with Beyond Good and Evil 2, it's just, and even Rayman, it's like, I just don't know.
Yeah.
You think about what type of games Ubisoft makes right now.
Yeah.
And the fact that South Park exists is kind of insane, although I imagine it's probably a big seller for them.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. So overall, kind of expectations for Ubisoft. Anything, just kind of overall what you expect from them?
I mean, other than like what we mentioned, like Assassin's Creed and maybe like the left thing, like Far Cry. Like what else?
Yeah, and it's probably too early for Far Cry.
Yeah, like what else is there that they have that they could announce? Like maybe another Trackmania Turbo thing. I know you're.
Yeah, like so, like those things have just come out. So like so it's you would expect. I mean, maybe a Trackmania Turbo expansion of some sort. Maybe something new.
They usually have that Anno PC game. They might show something new with that.
Aisha
Tyler
I think it'd
be pretty good.
Will kill it as she usually does.
They need to make like what's that? I've heard about like this Kim Kardashian like mobile phone game where you can like dress her up.
Oh jeez.
Prediction: the next Ubisoft mobile game is a Aisha Tyler dress up game.
Great.
I don't know.
Great.
Just throwing that out there.
Oh boy.
A
Watch Dogs clothing line. I'll throw that in there.
Oh yeah, I'm sure that's got to be something already, though, isn't it?
Probably. So that's gonna be Ubisoft. Again, those are always just a really fun time to watch. They can get kind of awkward and weird, but I think Aisha Tyler, I think she just does a really really good job of hosting that show every year. Yeah. And she like. I think she actually like she isn't just someone who's like, yeah, I like video games. Like she actually genuinely like plays a lot of games. I'm pretty sure from what I've read of her. And like she's just great. She's really really good at it. I think Ubisoft did super well. Like going from Mr. Caffeine to her, like such a stark difference. So always fun to watch. You can argue and debate about what's faked and what's not from stuff that they specifically show, but I just think they always I'm always happy to just kind of sit back and watch it and be like, all right, that looked cool. Hopefully it's that good when it comes out.
Yeah.
Or maybe the sequel will be. So let's move on. We have Sony and Nintendo left, some other little miscellaneous things and predictions. Nintendo's gonna be real short, but Sony's our big one.
Yes.
For obvious reasons. So here's kind of what we're doing here for Sony. We kind of have a mixture of things. We have things that we'll probably expect to see in the press conference, but we've also listed a lot of like downloadable games or some games we haven't heard from in a while. I would expect many of these games probably won't even be at E3. They might be saved for like a Paris Games Week or PlayStation Experience. But we wanted to bring these up because we've been talking about it for a few weeks, about bringing up some missing in action games and kind of coming up and being like, what, where is that game now? Like, it's been a year or it's been 2 years since we've seen anything from it. Mm-hmm. Are we poised to get an update in the next week or so? What's going on? So we're just going to go down this list. And this is going to be fun. This is going to be good. Here we go.
Yeah.
So top it off. I mean, we kind of talked about this a bit with Xbox Scorpio. We got PS4K, PlayStation 4 Neo. Okay, press conference wise, we'll stick to that for now. What do you expect? Do you think that they're going to spend a lot of time on it? Do you think it's even going to be there?
Part of me says I don't even think it's going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I've just got part of me that's like, I think people are expecting it's going to be there, but if we go through E3 and like that press conference ends and we don't see it, I am not going to be terribly surprised.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked either. Do you think if it doesn't show up, do you think that they at least acknowledge it? Whether it's in the press conference or like in an interview after the fact?
I don't think so. People are going to go crazy asking about it.
Yeah,
if
it doesn't show up, you better believe Jeff Keighley's going to be like, hey, so there's been rumors, like...
Thought we acknowledged we had this world exclusive.
We were like, well, we hope you're all very excited with Crash Bandicoot, but we have nothing to announce.
Yeah.
I'm also with you where I half expect it to just not show up.
Yeah. I could see it being like you mentioned,
like a Paris Games Week,
a Paris Games Week thing. Yeah, exactly.
And I think mostly that's because really from the stuff as we learn more about Neo, it seems like it's not substantially strong, like more powerful. Like it definitely is, but it doesn't seem like it's a massive leap. And if it's coming out potentially the end of this year or early next year, that's relatively soon. And you brought it up before, like, do you want to announce something like that so far in advance that it might cannibalize your sales for the months leading into it?
Yeah.
And I think that's a good point. Like, typically when you announce things like that, you don't put a lot of time between those announcements and when they take effect. Yeah. That way you're still selling consoles and you're not worrying about people waiting a few months. And they, Sony recently has even said that they plan on selling like 20 million this year, PS4s.
Yeah, probably something like that.
And so like if they plan on doing that, I can't imagine that they would want to dry up sales for a couple months while people wait on the Neo.
Yep.
So that, in a way, it's kind of the thing with the NX, right? It's like I want to know from Sony themselves what the heck this thing is or what their plan with it is. And so if it doesn't show up, it would be slightly disappointing because I want to know.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I would not be the least bit surprised if it doesn't show up. It would be it'd be very anticlimactic in a way with all the build up over the past couple months, but I don't know.
You mean like PSX last year? That was
PSX
they're gonna talk about this, they're gonna talk about that, and then there's like, here's Paragon, okay, bye.
Yeah, they should have ended on Ni no Kuni too.
Yeah, probably.
So God of War 4. This feels all but confirmed that it's going to be shown. I imagine this will be one of their major headlining games at their press conference.
I would agree.
You could even wager to guess that this is their final game that they show. Maybe.
Yeah, I can see that.
Here's what we know about God of War 4. We know that it's going with Norse mythology. We know that Kratos is probably still the main character, and he has a big beard. That's about all we know.
That's all we know, yeah.
What do you expect from this?
I expect some, it's going to be classic God of War, but then, Kratos is going to have, one new ability or something. Some new ability.
Yeah.
Like in Ascension, it was the ability to grapple enemies with the chain and drag them and stuff like that. You could pick up other items from other enemies. That was Ascension's big thing. I was I expect there to be some new gameplay mechanic, but it's still just be cut and dry God of War.
It'll be visually stunning.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're gonna show some crazy set piece, I would imagine.
Mm-hmm.
My hope is that gameplay wise, it's obviously still a character action game. some of the concept art we've seen, he has like a little axe, like a tomahawk looking thing, kind of small in scale. Like we're not seeing the Blades of Chaos specifically. So my hope is that it would actually play a lot differently, or he would have a lot of different abilities just because he doesn't have those blades.
Yeah.
So it's a different weapon, and so I have a little prediction for God of War 4 that I'm just gonna share right now.
Okay.
Okay. So one of the ones I like. The Kratos in God of War 4 is noticeably not angry.
Was he like a pacifist now or something? Like
I just like the concept of like this Kratos having a very different attitude.
I don't see it. No, Kratos gonna be pissed.
He's gonna be so mad. He's like, "What am I doing in Norse mythology?
What am I doing here?
I've already killed all the gods. You're telling me there's more of them?"
Yeah. Like, he's got to have some reason to be angry with somebody else.
He's got to be, yeah, there's got to be a reason.
Yeah.
Because what have the Norse gods done to him? Nothing.
Yeah, well. We'll find out.
Yeah, I don't know. Are you excited for God of War 4?
You know, just hearing about the kind of the premise around it, I actually have more interest in a God of War 4 than I did any of the other God of Wars.
Yeah, interesting. I love Norse mythology, so, like, that's kind of almost enough, yeah.
I feel like that's more interesting to me than Greek mythology.
There's still like a few reservations. Like I said, I really want Kratos to feel different.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Kratos as a character, he's fine. He's, you know, it's fine. But I would like for Kratos, whether it's just a completely different character, just with the same name, kind of Link style. But I would like I want them, for me specifically, I want them to show what's different.
I will be disappointed. I will be disappointed if it's a new Kratos. Like, if it's still Kratos,
really?
Or like a different reincarnation of Kratos. Like, I'll be disappointed. I think with them naming it God of War 4, I feel like that shows that, like, this will be a continuation of that storyline.
Well, we also don't know if it's called God of War 4 either.
Well, that is very true.
I don't know. To me, it's like
God of Thor.
It's all well and good to come out and show a game that's like super like visually like unbelievable, you know, Uncharted levels and like crazy set pieces. And here's a new God of War, and like it looks like God of War, and that's fine. I would be excited. I would be fine with that. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, you know, I've played 5 God of War games, and I love them. They're great. But I would, you know, I feel like this is a really great chance to really start something fresh. Like, you've got Norse mythology, so, like, build on that, you know? Like, start something new. Like, have Kratos control differently. Give him new weapons we've never seen before, you know? Like, show me what is different and why God of War 4 is, like, a major step forward. Like, that's the other thing, because this is going to be the first one on PS4.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
You know, like, show
what remastered or whatever.
Right, yeah. So, like, show what you can do. Right? Like, show why I should be excited about this game.
I got 2 words for you. Open world.
Mm-hmm.
How about that?
That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
So the next one, this is
Be like Kratos riding a horse or something like that.
Oh, man.
Oh, that's a prediction.
And what would be really cool is, like, if he's riding a horse and, like, maybe there's a section where he kind of, like, leans to the side and he kind of stealths through an area.
And then the, like, the people who guard, like, Odin's castle are just like, oh, look at that. It's just a horse running.
Oh, it's just a horse. No big deal.
Yeah, no big deal. You remember that time? No.
So the next game, Dead Don't Ride. This is still rumor. Like, everything about this is rumor and speculation. So Sony Bend is a studio. They have not put out a game since Uncharted Golden Abyss.
Correct.
We know they've been working on PS4 games for quite some time. The word on the street is they're probably going to show it at E3 next week. Basically, the way it's pitched is, I wrote Mad Max with zombies, but apparently it's not quite Mad Max.
Okay.
But it's kind of this post-apocalyptic, kind of open world, vehicle-based. So I guess the vehicle thing is where people kind of took the Mad Max from, but zombies and stuff, and it's apparently called Dead Don't Ride.
Okay.
So that's about all we know. Whether any of that's true or not, we'll find out very soon. This sounds exciting to me. I also wonder if this has the potential to be this year's Horizon, where maybe it's towards the beginning of the press conference, they show kind of a somewhat lengthy gameplay demonstration, and it's really like, wow, that's actually super impressive.
Yeah.
But it's hard to really, I don't know what to expect from it. I feel like Horizon, we knew a little bit more about what that actually was going to be going into it.
Yeah, like we knew Gorilla was working on.
Well, and like we knew it was dinosaurs. We knew it was like it was robo dinosaurs. We kind of had a good perspective of what that was, whereas this is a little bit more vague. And zombies can mean almost anything, you know.
BOW.
Boy. But Sony Vin, it's been a long time for them, and so if they do show it this upcoming week, I'm excited to see it because I feel like we've actually been hearing kind of like murmurs about this game for some time now.
Yeah.
We had heard that it was like an open world survival horror. Maybe it sounds like maybe it's not quite horror. Maybe it's unclear. We'll find out. We'll know soon in the coming days. Next up, Horizon. So this has officially been delayed as of this week. It is coming out February 28th, 2017. We got a new kind of story-focused trailer. I would wager to guess that we'll get a new gameplay demo on stage.
Oh, I definitely.
Hopefully something a little bit different from what we've seen in the past. Like the few gameplay demonstrations we've seen have kind of basically been the same.
Yeah.
So maybe hopefully something a little bit different. Maybe some look at like the RPG mechanics in the game. Are you excited for Horizon at all?
Not honestly, not all that much.
Okay. Is there something that you think that they could show you that would get you back on board?
I don't know. I'm just not feeling the like everybody's got a bow now, or like everybody we're fighting robot dinosaurs. Like
Collin,
I guess maybe still a little bit of it is that I don't understand like what's going on in the game.
Robot
like what's
dinosaurs.
Like what's
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like that trailer we got a couple days ago kind of like gave you a little bit of a glimpse of the story.
Yeah.
At least for Aloy. Is that how you Aloy?
Yeah, Aloy or Eloy or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So like I guess that would maybe be the other thing that they could probably start talking about is like story, like what is happening, like what is your goal, and like is there like we know it's open world, we kind of have a brief concept of the world itself, and the state that it's in, but yeah, maybe a bit more about Aloy and the tribe that she's part of and stuff like that could be.
Even when this was shown last year, watching the debut, I was like, yeah, it looks cool.
Mm-hmm.
And like that was it. I was like, I wasn't like, wow, like, that's awesome, or like, wow, like I can't wait to play this. Like, I guess to me, it just feels like I've played a Far Cry game in third person with robot dinosaurs almost. And like, because I guess I feel like the design of like open world games, how it's like, okay, like now you go to this mission marker, and now you go collect this collectible, and now you go shoot these wild animals. I guess I'm ready to be surprised by something new.
But see, like for me, I felt like Horizon was that, because I remember like last year, Year of Dreams, right? There were so many things. Like there were games announced that I'm much more excited about than I am for Horizon. But I felt like Horizon still kind of stole the show for me.
Yeah.
Because even though like it had leaked and we kind of knew what it was, I still felt like seeing that gameplay demo for the first time and seeing what they were doing, like the way that you were able to take down that huge robot dinosaur, right? And kind of some of the gameplay mechanics they were showing, like to me, that like visually it was a great looking game, but like that was impressive. Like the way that she was able to like latch onto it and like tie it down with like these ropes and just like all like the way that she was kind of like dismantled that thing.
Sure.
To me, that was like, okay, I'm so ready to be sold on this. Like, and hopefully now that we've seen a few other demos and they've been pretty similar, the hope for me would be that there would be a ton of different ways that you could go about hunting down these things. Right?
Yeah.
Because it made me think a little bit about Monster Hunter, but single player in a weird way. Is I like the idea of like having to go out and hunt down these giant like robot beasts, and like kind of even Shadow of the Colossus-esque of like there's like things that you need to do and like weak points you need to like spot, and each one has to be taken down in a very specific, unique way, or maybe there's multiple ways to take them down, and my hope would be that they would show that they would show that like no, there's not just one thing that you have to do. You have choices, you have options that you can work with. Because to me, I looked at that and like it could very easily fall into the open world trap that you were talking about. But my hope is that they would show why it doesn't. You know, like what, like they would show features of this game. It's like, no, maybe you're feeling open world fatigue, but this is why Horizon's different. Like, I think like that's something that they should focus on if I were them. Is showing people like there was a ton of open world games that came out last year, and there's a ton still coming out. Like, this is why Horizon is different from all the rest, and focus in on that. It's interesting. I feel like we're pretty similar in taste, but we also differ a lot on some of these things. But that's how it goes. How do you feel about a new Spider-Man game?
I don't really care about Spider-Man.
Oh, Collin, what are you doing to me?
Sorry, I'm just I'm just like punching you in the chest. I know. Like, repeatedly, but
so we'll be very brief. We'll be very brief on this.
Like if they give me a Spider-Man game where it's like, guess what, Green Goblin's the main bad guy, and you just fight bad guys until you get to the Green Goblin. I'm like, I don't really care. But if they're like, here's Green Goblin, here's Rhino, here's the Shocker, here's Carnage, here's Venom, here's Scorpion, like all of these people, I'd be like, yeah, I'm all in. Like, let's do this. But if they're just like, here's like one or two bad guys, I'm like, I don't really care.
This is such a fascinating rumor because it appeared on someone's LinkedIn, I believe, or their resume, and it was listed as Untitled PlayStation 4 Spider-Man game.
Yeah.
And from there's been some other people that have kind of like come out and been like, yeah, I've heard that there's like a PS4 exclusive Spider-Man game in the works. Some people theorize that perhaps Sucker Punch would fit the mold for that. Yeah. They've worked on superhero games before. They've done very well with them, so maybe they would fit. I saw some people throw around some other developers, but it's very unclear who would be doing it, for one. It's fascinating because you think about like Spider-Man being in Civil War and all these weird deals going between Sony and Marvel. I mean, Activision's had the game license. Yep. Would this be a movie tie-in game? Would this be something unique? I kind of see it as like, is this potentially one of those things where it's like, okay, we have the chance to do to Spider-Man what Rocksteady did for Batman. Yeah. You know, and I think if you have that opportunity, you want to take it. It's like, yeah, it's like, because look at how big Batman turned into. Yeah. That was like Warner Brothers' like major marquee title, you know, like coming from Arkham Asylum pre-release. Arkham Asylum was like, it was kind of anticipated, but a lot of people weren't super convinced either. It wasn't until that game came out where it was like, oh, wow, this is actually really good. So I would be stoked for a new a Spider-Man game that is not tied down by a movie. I think the prospect of it being exclusive brings with it some interesting possibilities, where you could see maybe more of a focus to like, you know, have a larger budget for this, or to really try to go all out and make this as best as you can. Whereas a lot of times you get these like licensed comic book games and it's just kind of shoehorned, like they just kind of phone it in. Yeah. If it's not Batman, right? Like that's a little bit, that's obviously the difference there. Like that's different from the rest. But like, when's the last time we've had a good Spider-Man game? Spider-Man 2?
That's the last great one. I've heard like there was the one with noir setting also. There were, like, I've heard those were good. Some of those were good, but some of them been really bad.
Yeah, I don't know. This is like, it's such a strange like wild card to put in there, of like, imagine if this wasn't rumored at all. If like no one was talking about this in like mid press conference, they were like, oh, hey, check this out. And a new trailer for a Spider-Man game started rolling, and it was exclusive and it looked amazing. You know, like how weird would that be? Yeah. But let's move on. Collin, the wait has been long for this.
A little bit, yeah.
The Last Guardian, set to come out sometime this year. What do you think? Do you think this is going to be at the press conference?
No.
I don't either.
I don't think it will be in the press. It will be like something they show after the fact in the live show or something like that. I
think, and I'll be more specific when we get to predictions, I think by the time this podcast airs, we will know the release date for The Last Guardian.
Yeah, that'd probably be safe because it'd really be weird to announce the release date after the press conference.
Yeah, and I don't think it'll be in the press conference. Well, it might be like in a
either.
quick little sizzle reel, but I don't think that they're going to dedicate a lot of time to it.
Yeah, and they've done that before with kind of other... Like, the first one that
Yeah.
comes to mind was 2010's Twisted Metal when they announced that. Because when that game got announced in 2010 and they had that whole big old stage thing, they wrote it on the truck, it was nowhere. It was at E3, but it was not in the press conference the next year.
And I think that's not a bad thing, because like you look at what they say about The Last Guardian, they're like, yeah, we don't want to spoil the story.
Yeah.
It's been so long, we want to keep that kind of hidden and under wraps, and I think the way you do that is later this week, be it Thursday or Friday, you have a post on the PlayStation blog, you got a quick little trailer, and you have a release date.
Yeah.
And then you talk about it, like maybe you mention the name during the press conference as like, here's one of our major titles coming out later this year, but you don't need to show any more of that. I think the people who are gonna get that game know full well, and they've known for years now that they're gonna buy that game the day it comes out.
Yep.
It's not gonna be a massive, huge seller for them. It's got a very specific audience, and I think they can play to that. Like, they just need to... All they need to do with that game is give it a release date.
Yeah.
And...
Of 2017.
Well, let's get the predictions first before then. But, Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah.
Let's just dig in now. What, like, is this happening?
It depends on, like, who does it. Like, who's developing it.
Okay.
Who
do you got?
My first thought would be somebody like Sanzaru.
Okay, I think that's a really good choice.
Who did Sly
Cooper.
Sly remaster and then Sly 4, Thieves in Time, whatever. Honestly, like, if we're talking about if it's going to be a downloadable game, I could almost see Naughty Dog taking something like that.
I talked about this with someone a few days ago. The ideal that... I mean, they were kind of all hands on deck with Uncharted 4, right?
Yeah.
And so I can't imagine they'd be ready to show any major new game, be it The Last of Us 2 or a new IP. Yeah. And it's probably too early for Uncharted DLC, the story stuff. But I do wonder, and because they've kind of come out and said that they're not super interested in doing like the Jak and Daxter or the Crashes again.
Yeah.
You know, but I wonder if maybe there is a small enough team there who kind of would like something a little bit different from their kind of grounded, realistic, even somewhat dark games like in The Last of Us. And so I wonder if maybe there would be an interest there in kind of going back to something like that. And then through some weird series of events, they're able to get Crash again back. And if maybe they do a $30 or $40 game.
Yeah.
Or that kind of that price range. Kind of smaller in scale. It would probably get a disc release, I would assume. But it'd be a bit scaled down. It'd be kind of like Puppeteer or Ratchet and Clank, where it's a bit smaller. You know, it's not full price or anything, but it's kind of very much throwing the fans a bone. And I think the crux for the Naughty Dog part would be it's one thing to bring Crash back and to make a new game, be it Sanzaru or someone else.
Yeah.
But for the Naughty Dog logo to be on that trailer, like, I think that would totally change the reaction. Like, I think that would make the reaction that much stronger.
I'd agree.
If that was the developer behind it. Like, it would be, and it would be such a crazy announcement. That is your, like, I don't think that they could possibly top what happened last year. I just don't think that could happen. You know, but that would certainly be of that level of just insanity.
Yeah.
You know, now whether or not that's going to happen, I don't know. Like, I've kind of, ever since PSX, we've talked about this before, I've been firmly in the camp of like, yes, Crash is coming back. And I believe it even more so, but I just wonder, like, maybe we're all being bamboozled. Like, maybe we're all just being misled. And it's going to be some weird Crash VR game.
Maybe. Be like Lucky's Tale, but then be Crash Bandicoot
Oh no.
in like VR, and it's like the pack-in
It's
game.
the year of nightmares. Percentages. What do you give the chance Crash shows up?
30.
30?
Yeah.
I'll go high. I'll give it 64.
Okay.
Okay.
Like a Nintendo 64.
Like a Nintendo 64. Gravity Rush 2. So this game supposedly is still coming out this year. Do you believe that?
No, I think this is an early 2017 game.
Okay.
I also do not think this game will be at the press conference.
Whoa.
I do not think this game will be talked about at the press conference.
Interesting.
It will be at the live show. They'll be doing demos. People will have appointments for it. People will see it. But I don't think this will be at the press conference.
I'm thinking. Huh. You could be right. You are probably right. I think it'll be there.
Okay.
I think it'll be there. Absolutely.
It'll be in a sizzle. Well, I guess it'll be.
Yeah,
well,
that's kind of tough.
It'll be in a sizzle reel.
Yeah,
I'll say that
for sure. Okay.
But they won't substantially talk about it.
I think we'll get a new trailer and a release date for it.
Okay. Yeah, I think
I'll give you a specific release date in my predictions part.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Probably the same day as Persona.
No, God. Don't remind me. Are you excited for Gravity Rush 2?
I don't know. I guess I really like the color that I saw.
Yeah.
In Gravity Rush 2,
It's a really
compared
pretty
to
game.
and even remastered had some color because I felt like that original Vita one was just really drab to me.
Yeah, this one definitely looks. It just looks so good.
Yeah, I really like the one on Vita. And honestly, I don't even know if I would have played it if it wasn't for free on the Instant Game Collection at the time.
I recently bought the remastered earlier this year and replayed it, and I'm really glad I did.
Okay.
Because when I played it on Vita and I liked it enough, but I didn't really care for the controls because of the Vita basically. And playing it through on PS4, it was like it reminded me I was like, this is a really good game, but also like it just controlled so much better for me.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty pumped for it. Dreams, do we think Dreams will be there?
I think it will be.
Yeah, I'm expecting a beta announcement.
Something. Yeah.
Because I don't think it's coming out this year, but they did say beta in 2016. I'm expecting them to talk a bit about the beta, maybe show kind of what's going to be included. I'm expecting the beta to come in the next few months.
And what if they say, like, and for those of you that are attending the E3 experience in movie theaters around the United States and Canada, you can get access to the Dreams beta right now.
There's potential that could happen.
I don't know. I'm just thinking about it.
All right, PlayStation VR. So there's like Rigs, Tumble
VR, yeah.
Thumper, yeah, I know. That zombie taxi game, 100-foot robot golf. Yeah. Psychonauts and the Rhombus of Ruin, which I think would be interesting to see more of that. Res Infinite. There's a ton of PlayStation VR.
Robinson the Journey. There's that
sure.
One too.
How much? Okay, let's do a impromptu prediction again. How much time do you think they'll spend on PlayStation VR in the press conference?
15 minutes.
18.
Okay.
18 and 45 seconds.
We need to be writing these down.
I will when I edit.
Okay, that sounds good.
Yeah. Yeah. That's anything to say about VR or any of those games?
I'm getting more interested in it. Still, the only thing I think there's got to be a big first-party title that comes out other than like a Rigs. I mean, there's got to be. I could see maybe even like Dead Don't Ride being like a VR game or something. Like they just need like one of those big studio first-party games. I feel like to
I think
do
you're
a
right.
VR game.
And no, this game doesn't necessarily pan out the way that we were hoping it would. But you remember when Move was kind of first being shown and they showed Sorcery?
Yes.
And when they first showed Sorcery, it was like actually really impressive. People were kind of excited for it. I think you're right in that, like, bring out something from one of your studios that is like for the hardcore, like, or whatever, and it's all VR, and it really like is substantially more than what we've seen from VR so far, Yeah. I think Rigs could kind of fit into that mold in a way. Perhaps Psychonauts and the Rhombus of Ruin, depending on what that is.
Yeah.
Res Infinite certainly would sell to a very specific crowd, but I think you're right.
That would be my game though. Res Infinite would be the game that's like that would make me play.
Bring out a game that's like for anyone who's skeptical about VR, like bring out something that like would just really knock their socks off, and that could be any number of things, to be fair. But yeah, I imagine there's probably a big like first party really like major announcement that's for a VR exclusively for PlayStation VR. Shenmue 3.
It'll get name dropped, but I don't think anything will show up there.
No like gameplay footage or any sort of update like that. How about Shenmue 1 and 2 HD?
Let me go email Sega real quick. I have no idea. It sounds like, wasn't there something that said Sega was open to it? Maybe?
They were considering it.
Yeah. That's a good possibility.
I think there's a good chance that. I think there's other than The Last Guardian, which I do think they probably would be better off skipping for the press conference. I think there's a very good chance that they would want to issue updates for the Year of Dream games, right?
Yeah.
The Holy Trinity, as it were. And so I think with Shenmue 3 and Final Fantasy 7 Remake, I think that there was the possibility that they would want to come out and say, all right, we know like you guys were so happy when we announced Shenmue 3 or this game, and they would maybe issue a small little update. Shenmue 3, from what I've heard, apparently they've been pretty steady with updates. But I think you follow up the Shenmue 3 brief update with Shenmue 1 and 2 collection on PS4.
Sure.
And then we'll just, Final Fantasy 7 Remake. I could see Square trying to focus on, Final Fantasy 15 and World of Final Fantasy. But at the same time, like, I could totally see them, like, reeling out another Final Fantasy 7 trailer.
I think we'll get Final Fantasy 15 and 7 stuff.
Okay.
I don't think we'll get World of Final Fantasy stuff at the press conference.
Yeah, so World of Final Fantasy, we just got a release date for.
We just got a release date in that trailer, another trailer for it. I don't think that shows up
I
at
don't
the press
think
conference.
Either. But, well, I have some predictions for those other Final Fantasy games, so we'll get to that.
Okay.
Anything you'd like to say about Final Fantasy? Before we move on?
I'm interested to see more Final Fantasy 15. Again, there's only a few certain number of games that I'll probably buy in the fall. Final Fantasy 15 is on that list of maybes.
Yeah.
But I can't really say that that's one that I'm going to reach out and buy right now. So I'm ready to be sold.
Okay. So Street Fighter V, the story mode is coming later this month, along with Ibuki.
Mm-hmm. Yes. At some point.
I would imagine story mode would probably be shown off or kind of talked about here. You get Ono out on stage and
I don't know if that. I wonder if we just get a trailer or something
really?
like that. Just like a trailer. Like, hey, here's the Street Fighter V update. Here's what's coming.
I think we're due for a Capcom segment.
And
here's what I think they're gonna do.
Here we go.
So Street Fighter V, you get your story mode reveal, and that could just be a trailer. But I think you have him out on stage, or you have some Capcom people out on stage to talk about it. And I think you follow it up with a new reveal of a brand new game from Capcom.
Yep.
I think you follow it up with Resident Evil 7.
Oh, you're going the other way with that.
What other game were we going to...
Well, what other game did Ono come out and announce at one point? Yeah, Deep Down, exactly.
I think that's the third.
Okay.
I think Deep Down
I thought you were
this year.
I thought you were going to go with Ono there. Okay.
Well, mixing it up.
Well, don't forget about the Umbrella Corps DLC that comes out
sure.
at some point.
So, so Street Fighter V story mode, we're gonna see it at E3. I have to imagine, right? Whether it's in the press conference or outside of it. Yeah,
I'd probably say so, yeah.
That's a good way. That's a good place to show it. It's a few weeks out. I think it's a good way to reveal it. Resident Evil 7.
It's gonna be there. I think it's gonna happen.
Do you think there's
but
a
then
shot?
Again, it couldn't.
Do you think there's a chance?
There's always a chance.
This is pulling things out of air. Nothing to go on here. Do you think there's a chance Resident Evil 7 might be first on PS4?
honestly, if Umbrella Corps wasn't a PS4 PC game, I would have probably actually predicted Resident Evil 7 to show up at the Xbox conference.
Really interesting.
Because Resident Evil 5 and 6
I mean,
were both kind
there's
of Xbox
no way.
focused.
There is no way at all 7 would be exclusive.
I don't think it will, but I'm just saying, like,
although at the same time, I guess you could have said the same thing about Street Fighter 5, but the difference is that Resident Evil is like their biggest seller.
Yeah.
At Capcom, so there's no way that would happen. I think 7 absolutely is going to be at Sony's press conference.
Other than Monster Hunter,
I guess we can just go ahead and I have a prediction for 7, but let's just throw it in right here. What do you expect from Resident Evil 7? Like, what do you honestly expect from this game?
I think you asked me this a while back. I expect the original Resident Evil 4 demo type game.
Okay.
So you have that kind of fixed camera angle, but maybe like... I almost want to maybe say something like... This is just spitballing. Almost like a Metal Gear Solid, like original Metal Gear Solid, like top down. You can move the camera a little bit. But it's not like over the shoulder. I expect it to probably be an over the shoulder type game. So maybe something in like Evil Within, slower pace kind of thing.
I think Evil Within is actually probably a really good benchmark. I have written down Resident Evil 7 is closer to RE4 than it is RE1, though it promises to go back to true survival horror. And then my dream prediction is that it stars Barry Burton. But
That's a dream.
As much as I want this to be like straight up RE as much RE1 or RE2 as you can get.
Yeah.
I think you're looking at something that's similar to RE4.
Yeah.
If you go off like Revelations 2, I think you're looking at something that's going to find a middle ground between the horror of kind of the beginning of this franchise and the more whatever 6 is. And I think 4 is a really good branching point, where 4 is something that people who like 1, 2, and 3 really like 4. People who even aren't huge fans of 1, 2, and 3 really like 4. You know, like Resident Evil 4 just in general is a very well-liked game. You know, like, I mean, it's your favorite game ever made.
No, you know.
Yeah, so like, I mean, I know you're wrong about that, but but I think that's that's your middle ground, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of where you start off at, and I think Evil Within is another really good kind of benchmark for it. It's like, because it's very similar to RE4, but it's a bit more. It's definitely leaning towards the horror end, and I think I could see 7 doing that. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I would love for it to be straight as horror as you could possibly get, but I know to like temper my expectations. And look at something probably closer to the middle ground, similar to Revelations 2. I had Persona 5 listed on here, but we got a release date for that. It is out. Well, we talked about it in the news segment. I don't think it's going to be at the press conference.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. Destiny expansion is getting announced tomorrow. Officially, it's being revealed tomorrow.
Yeah.
I can't imagine this would not be at the Sony press conference. At least to like be like, you'll get exclusive content on PS4.
Here's a bold prediction that is not one of my predictions. Rise of Iron is supposedly the new Destiny expansion.
Yeah.
Destiny, the Rise of Iron will not be at the press conference.
All right. I hope you're right.
But a trailer for Destiny 2 will be at the press conference.
I think it's too early for that.
I don't know, man.
I think it's too early for that. I think that's a PSX thing.
Yeah, true.
If anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be quite the curveball. I just think I think you focus on the new expansion. Right?
True.
You know. But Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, another one that you would expect to see at the press conference.
See, I like Call of Duty, but can they make me care? That's
so yeah. Okay, so I'm not gonna care. I'm not gonna care at all. What could they do? when showing Infinite Warfare that would make you care at all about it?
I think they're already done. I think it's already lost. Like,
You really?
Like, I wanted more, and you know me, and people who I've talked to know me. I really like Ghosts. People trash on Ghosts a lot. I thought it was a really good game.
Okay.
But just like the part where they're like, yeah, we're doing zombies now. I'm like, I don't want to do that. And it's like, oh, we're going all super sci-fi, and I'm like, I don't want to do that either. And like, I heard them say at that reveal stream, I think I told you about, that like there's a part where like you land on an asteroid, like going towards like some planet, and you're like trying to blow this asteroid up like Armageddon style, while like this asteroid's spiraling out of control, and it's like whatever. Like, give me ground-based Call of Duty. Just
okay.
I haven't liked what they've done. I didn't really like Advanced Warfare. I didn't really care for what I had seen of Black Ops 3. I haven't played that much of it. Like, I played the beta, and that was it. I just don't really care for the future tech kind of thing. But then at the same time, I'll tell you that, like, yeah, I'm really excited for Titanfall. But I guess that's just not what I want. That's not what I want in Call of Duty.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to run down some of the next few things, because I don't know there's a lot to say about it, but maybe here's some stuff that we haven't really heard about or heard from too much in a while. The Tomorrow Children is a really good example. This is something that was in beta like a year and a half ago. There's a new beta that's like just started, I believe. You got to think that game's coming out soon, hopefully. Do you think we'll get a release date or anything like that from it?
This could be one of the games I think that could be out they could be like, it's out now. I feel like this could be one of those games.
I'm not going to go that far. I think we'll get like a summer or fall date, or not a specific date, but I think they'll be like, yeah, it's coming out and it's coming out in a few months or something like that.
So do you think this would show up at the press conference?
Maybe like I think a lot of these might be a very quick, like, here's a bunch of indie games coming, and I've got some predictions for a little bit later on, but I think Hunger is another game on this list that we haven't heard anything about since that one trailer.
Yeah.
And that game looks really, really interesting, but we've heard nothing from it. So the hope would be that it would maybe reappear and be pretty close to being done or something. What Remains of Edith Finch is another game that I could totally see coming out this summer. It's a game we've seen off and on for the past year and a half or so.
Yep.
Stop me if you want to add anything about these games. Abzu.
Nothing was really Remains of Edith Finch. Yeah, just looking forward to it. Abzu. I really like kind of those mellow kind of experiences. Sounds like Abzu is one of those games.
It's just 2 years ago it was announced, right?
Yeah. I remember writing an article about it.
Yeah. So and it's also like some that game company people, I believe.
Yeah. A few people.
Which, speaking of which, it's been a long time since that game company's put out a new thing.
Or even announced anything.
Yeah, I know. We no clue what they're doing.
Yep.
Let's see. Watom. Collin, so help me. If Watom is not at E3 this year,
stop yelling at me.
Going to be yeah. I'm not taking Collin. You got it. I can't believe you delayed Persona 5. No. Watom is like game of the year contender.
Wow.
We gotta see this game. I hope this comes out soon. I hope this is out like in the next few months.
Yeah.
I'm so pumped for that. Are you excited for Watom at all?
I think it looks cool.
Yeah.
I didn't really. I mean, it's nothing like it, but just that style of like Katamari stuff, like the guy did, and I just isn't kind of like it's like a Nobi Boy kind of looking thing.
Great.
It's
He's
like,
great.
I just didn't play those games, and I like their style, but I can't really say I'm like, yeah, I can't wait to play that game. I guess I don't know.
So Deep Down, we already kind of talked. Well, I talked about it. Do you think Deep Down has any chance of showing up and like reemerging?
I think it does. It's been the PS4 reveal.
Yeah.
Was the last time we saw something.
Well, it was actually playable at that TGS that year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And if you remember, it was going to be a free-to-play game.
Yeah, they mentioned it's free-to-play.
And so who even knows what it would be now if it still exists?
It got kind of some backlash, I remember, and then they announced it was free-to-play. I could see it showing up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hot Shots Golf.
Yep.
I hope it show that's one of those things where a lot of these games I could see not being here but being at Paris Games Week or being at Tokyo Game Show.
I think Hot Shots Golf's one of those games that won't be in the press conference.
But I would love just an update on it. Mm-hmm. I don't think they've officially had it at like a US show yet.
It was at PSX, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Because when I remember watching part of their live show that Sony had, they were showing it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would love to just get an update on that game. Bound is another game that I would like to get some sort of update on.
Yeah.
That's unclear as well if that's going to be there or not. GT Sport, we have a release date. This is November, right? I think it's like November 11th or something.
Yeah.
Somewhere in that time frame. I'm not a huge GT guy. I don't know if you are.
I bought GT5.
I did too, yeah.
Just like everybody else on PS3. It's like the biggest selling PS3 game. I don't know. I'm interested. I'm more interested in GT Sport than I was in Drive Club. I'll say that much.
Okay. So the next few are ones that we can maybe talk a little bit more about. We're getting very close to the end of the Sony thing. And this is it. We're getting close to the end in general.
Gotten a lot of speculation from now on.
Yeah, a lot of speculation. So first off, Pixel Opus. They were a company that 2 years ago, it was actually it was a student group that kind of formed this developer, and they created Entwined. And Entwined was a game that was announced and then released immediately after the press conference 2 years ago.
Yep.
Since then, we've heard nothing from them. It has been 2 years, and so my kind of speculation and thought is that there's a very good chance that we could see something new from them. I don't know if they would want to do the same exact thing of announce it and then put it out immediately.
Yeah.
It would be kind of cool. But I can't help but think that this would be a great time for them to show off something new. I thought Entwined was really cool. You know, it wasn't perfect or anything, but I thought it was a really interesting kind of debut for them. So
yeah, I agree.
That was just kind of a thought I had.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else to add about Pixel Opus, or do we want to move on to the next?
Not really. Just pretty much just echoing what you said. Yeah.
So this next game appeared on someone's resume.
Oh man, what could
a few months ago.
About?
Collin, I don't know how they sell this game. I don't know how you announce this game at a press conference, or if it's like. So we're talking about Knack 2.
Well, I was gonna say you have a knack for bringing things up like this.
So Knack 2. Part of this is jokingly putting this on the list because haha Knack, but at the same time, like, if a Knack 2 exists, how the heck does Sony begin to broach the subject of making another Knack?
Just smile away and hope.
Smile and wave and hope people like just post it on the blog and like. Hope it gets buried in the avalanche of news.
Yeah. I think we talked about with the Crash Bandicoot thing. If there was other developer to do Crash, it would be like Sony Japan with like Mark Cerny.
Oh, sure.
Coming back to do.
So that's another thing. I don't have it on the... Well, I guess we kind of have it. We have coming up, it's like a Sony Japan game, something smaller in scale. Maybe in the vein of like Rain or of a Puppeteer or Tokyo Jungle. Yeah. We know Mark Cerny's like working on a small game. He's got like a small little team working on something, and he's been doing it for presumably a while. So I wonder if maybe there's a chance we could see what that game is or what that.
Also, if we get the PS4 Neo 4K, will Mark Cerny be on stage to deliver the news?
We'll talk about that.
Oh, okay.
And predictions.
Oh, all right. I like it.
I think Knack 2. Like I like Knack. I'm one of few. If this exists, I don't think it's anywhere to be seen in the press conference. I think they would be much smarter to just post it on the blog.
Yeah.
And because I don't think that you could stand on stage and get any sort of reaction.
You know, they did it at the launch PS4 reveal, first game they showed.
Yeah, but like that was before people hated Knack.
Well,
right?
True.
Like now the response to that was still kind of muted, but like Knack is like a laughing stock. Right, like Knack is it's just a huge joke amongst so many people that I don't think you can just like announce the new game on stage and get any sort of positive reaction.
Yeah.
PS1 and PS4. Do you think there's any shot of this?
You know, that was actually going to be maybe one of my predictions was that we were going to get that.
Yeah.
I think there's a good shot. I think there's a really good shot we can get PS1 games on PS4.
Do you think? Well, we'll talk about it in predictions, but yeah, we'll talk about that.
You got
more.
a lot of predictions. So
I wrote down a lot. There's some good ones.
Okay.
Matterfall was another kind of game that was announced. Paris Games Week, maybe.
Yeah, I think it was Paris Games Week. Yeah.
So Alienation's just come out. So Housemarque's kind of. Do they have? I don't think they have anything else other than Matterfall right now, right?
I don't think so. No.
So maybe that kind of thing that shows up at some point throughout the week, not necessarily at the press conference. And our very last thing, and this is something you brought up, and I was like, oh yeah, like actually that's a really good thing to bring up. Jonathan Mack. So he's one of the people who was behind Sound Shapes. Yeah. And since then, I believe Queasy Games, it's unclear what they're doing.
Yeah, you also did Everyday Shooter.
Everyday Shooter, yeah, first, yep.
Yeah.
So, do you think... I mean, it's been a while. It's been years. It's been a few years since Sound Shapes came out. Presumably, they've been working on something new. Do you think that could show up, whatever it may be?
Yeah, I think there's a good shot. I think Jonathan Mack would come out on stage and talk about it.
Yeah, because it feels like that's a developer that I feel like Sony has a close relationship with him.
Yeah.
Or that team, and like, I mean, this is a prediction that Chris, like he floated out years ago.
Oh, okay.
Was the Parappa the Rapper connection?
Oh,
like maybe
sure.
they would make a new Parappa game, or something. And I still, to this day, whether there's any chance of that or not, I still think that is such a good, like, prediction, because it makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah,
that could be a thing, and I like the idea of like Sony opening up some of their old IP to like some indie developers that they're close to. I think that's interesting, or potentially interesting. So I don't know the chances of the Queasy Games showing up and announcing something new.
Yeah.
Even though it's been a few years, it's kind of hard to really tell with smaller developers like that. You can't really kind of predict as well as you could bigger developers, but
yeah,
interesting nonetheless. That is, oh my god. Sony's press conference overall, what are you expecting? Especially coming off last year. Just brief expectations here.
It's going to take a lot to live up to last year, I feel.
Yeah. Almost impossible, I think.
It's almost impossible, and I feel like no matter what somebody does, I feel like it's going to be maybe a little upsetting to people, but I honestly feel like they could do it again. I feel like they could come out with a bunch of just crazy announcements.
I think so too. I think there's two ways to go about it. I think one is showing literally everything that is in development, even things that are 2 to 3 years off.
Yeah. And
just trying everything you possibly can to just come out with these crazy announcements that no one sees coming. And maybe in the past year you've been trying to work out some other really crazy like dream announcement scenarios.
Yeah.
Because like Sony is very much aware of the reaction that last conference had.
Yeah.
And so I can't imagine that they're just gonna be like, yeah, we'll just do a usual everyday, we'll just do our usual conference this year. Nothing too crazy. Yeah. It's like I can't imagine that they would do that. The other would be to try to steer the conference in a different direction, like very vocally not try to live up to what happened last year, and acknowledge that that's such a crazy like once in a lifetime scenario.
Yeah.
And maybe try to do something different. Maybe just show things that are just really impressive. Like a Horizon or a God of War 4 that just really the onstage demo itself like speaks more than here's this crazy announcement that you've never seen coming.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Personally, I would love them to just shoot for the stars and try their darndest to live up to it, even though I don't know if it's possible. So here we have been okay. So here's what we're gonna do. We got a few more things to go, and then we got some predictions. So hopefully that doesn't take too long. For Nintendo, we're just gonna chop it down to one thing. Nintendo's got some other things to show, but the big one is The Legend of Zelda.
Take a guess on the name.
I wouldn't even know where to begin. But I actually would like to talk about Zelda in predictions. as well.
Okay.
So unless you have anything to say about that, we can move on to some more general stuff.
Yeah, not really. I mean, it's announced that they're bringing 4 more games like Pokemon Sun and Moon, Dragon Quest 7.
Yeah, and I think
Monster Hunter.
We get a release date for Dragon Quest
like
7.
That. Yeah.
Probably August, September timeframe. Pokemon Sun and Moon, they'll show live gameplay. Monster Hunter Generate. Yeah. Some of those will probably get release dates. So.
Yeah, just to mention, like, those are the games coming out.
Don't mention that other thing I have down there yet. We're saving that.
Oh, that one?
Yeah, we'll save that for predictions.
Oh, okay. It just caught my eye.
All right, so there's some other general stuff. Some of these have been rumored. Some of these are just guesses. So Take-Two has been on record as saying that they will be at E3 in a big way.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, Red Dead seems like a done deal at this point. That Red Dead blank or Red Dead Redemption 2, whatever they end up calling it, it feels like that is absolutely going to be announced next week.
Yep.
If you had to guess what press conference it'll be at, what would you guess?
Microsoft.
I'm going to go with Microsoft as well, and I think that will be followed up with the Red Dead Redemption backwards compatibility.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
True. So do you think that would then be like no remaster then? No like HD
interesting
remaster.
Yeah. I think either way, we are getting out of E3 with the original Red Dead Redemption being playable on Xbox One. Mm-hmm. And whether that's through a remaster or not, I don't know. A remaster certainly is very possible though. But yeah, I would expect Microsoft to seem, I don't know. That would be my guess. Although Sony has had deals with Rockstar in the past. Yeah. So maybe. Some of those went through. Some of those are still missing in action. Yep. Ken Levine. So this is a guy, he, since BioShock Infinite, has been working on something.
Yep.
I think he recently tweeted about doing some VO stuff. Or like being in the studio recording some VO with some people.
Oh, okay.
And so wonder maybe they're doing a trailer. Like maybe, I mean, it's been a while. The game came out in 2013.
Yeah,
so it's probably been about three or so years. Like, perhaps he's ready to show something.
Yeah.
And it would be something else to have Ken Levine walk out on stage
with a Vita in his back pocket.
Yeah. I mean, what if Ken Levine walks out and that's Sony's big VR announcement?
Yeah,
or something,
true.
Something like that. I don't know. Like that is a guy that when he announces whatever it is he's doing, I am all eyes on him.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm very interested to see what he's going to do next. BioShock Collection?
It's got to be there.
You'd have to think so.
It has to.
We've practically seen everything there is to see.
Come on.
We've seen the box art.
Yeah.
It's so crazy that you would have to think that would be there. You think anything else Take-Two wise you would show up? Anything?
Well, the only one I was thinking of would be XCOM 2 being on console, but that just got announced.
Yeah. So I mean, we already talked about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was a pretty good conversation.
Oh yeah, I guess. I think
anything else though?
There's got to be some like Battleborn DLC to try and make people care.
Okay.
Something like that. I don't know. I think it's too early for like a Borderlands 3.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Thing.
I mean, do we want to get into pie in the sky scenario here?
Maybe the only other thing I could think about.
Do we want to go with the thing that you and I were talking about like 2 nights ago?
Maybe, but we can save that for predictions.
Okay, we'll save it.
Save that for predictions.
So Shadow of Mordor 2. That's been past few months. There's been a lot of talk going around. I think that's shown up on some resumes. It would certainly be. This would be the time. It's been a while. It's been a few years now. Shadow of Mordor was a pretty big success. I thought that was a really really great game. I would love to see what they do with the Nemesis system going forward. I would prefer a different IP with the Nemesis system, but I'll take what I can get. I think that's a very real possibility that would show up sometime next week. Mm-hmm. Whether that's just announced or it's at a press conference, I'm not sure. Yeah. There's been talks about a Suicide Squad game for years now, actually. I think specifically it would be by the Arkham Origins team. is kind of the talk.
See, when I think of Suicide Squad game,
okay,
the first thing that comes to mind was, who did Gotham City Imposters? And speaking of
Gotham
that team,
City Imposters. Oh my god,
yeah.
I haven't even thought about that game in like
isn't
3 years.
Isn't that Monolith? Isn't that the Mordor people? Shadow Mordor?
Maybe.
Isn't that,
I think you're
same,
right. Yeah.
I think it's the same developer. Yeah. So I would almost say like maybe if they made one. Because
Interesting.
I'd be like, man, like what almost has the look of Suicide Squad?
You're right,
like,
yeah.
That would be Gotham City Imposters.
And you know, we bring up this because Suicide Squad, the movie, is coming out in a few months, so
yeah,
perhaps you want to have that game finally get announced in that kind of time span.
Mm-hmm.
2 other things: Dark Souls 3 DLC. The first one's supposed to be coming out in the fall. I personally think it's too early.
Yeah.
I think that they would probably wait until about a month or 2 out. The Bloodborne DLC was announced in September. Or we got a trailer for it in September, and it came out in November, so it's about a 2-month wait. If we're looking at the fall, I think maybe a month or 2 early E3 would be. So I would certainly love to see it. Yeah. And E3 would be a great venue to show it at, but I think it might be just a bit too early. And one last thing is actually something that kind of leaked earlier today. CD Projekt Red is supposed to be making an announcement. It's kind of smaller in scale. Kind of the word of mouth, a lot of the buzz around it was that it would maybe be a standalone Gwent game. And Gwent is like the card game that is within The Witcher. A trademark and like a logo straight up leaked earlier today through Nerd Leaks.
Yeah, I thought I saw the logo.
Yeah, so there is very much a logo of a Gwent game floating around. So that sounds like it's a done deal. Whether that gets announced like in the next couple of days or next week, unclear. I am totally down for that. I really, really like Gwent a lot from when I played of it. I'd be interested. I think that they would need to change a few things if they were doing like a standalone game, kind of some balancing issues. But I'm super down to see what that is, whether it's a PC thing or it's mobile. I'm curious nonetheless. I think that's pretty exciting. And with that, oh my god. With that, let's get into predictions, Collin.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
I don't know if you've been writing stuff down.
I have 6.
Okay, I have a bit more than that. Do we want to go one by one? Like I say one, you say one?
Sure, let's do that.
All right. I can start or you can start. I can start.
You can start.
Okay. My first one, and this is one I feel legitimately has a good shot. I looked at a bunch of indie games from last year. And I thought about the way Sony courts indie games. And I looked at like what's a really big one that I think would be a pretty major announcement. And I think the one more than anything else over the past year is I think if like Gio Corsi or Adam Boyes or someone at their press conference came out and said, "Here's Undertale on PS4."
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah,
I definitely think that would show up there. Yeah. That's really good.
Yep. So there's my first one.
What time is it? When does it come out? Is it just announced?
Just announced. I think it's just announced.
Just announced. Yep. Okay. Depends on what. Some of these are good. Some of these are like.
Oh, I've got some
bad.
silly ones. It's totally fine.
We'll go with my least good one. Shovel Knight DLC shows up at the PlayStation Conference.
I forgot. There's more of that. Like there's not. It wasn't just play. I keep forgetting that there's actually more Shovel Knight.
Just get a trailer for Shovel Knight DLC. It shows up at the PlayStation Conference.
Okay.
Yep.
Lara Croft Go, PS4 and Vita.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, speaking of Lara Croft, at the PlayStation Conference, Rise of the Tomb Raider shows up in a sizzle reel that begins or ends the press conference. Rise of the Tomb Raider shows up. That's my prediction.
I like that. Do you think there's a chance that they might add something to it? There might be like a little something extra, or it'll just be. They did come
out with one of the. I think it might be. Yeah. Well, I don't know. It might be complete with DLC. I don't know. They had that Baba Yaga DLC or something like that.
Okay.
I don't know. But the prediction stands that we'll get a sizzle reel.
Okay.
That's what I said.
So I think we talked about this a little bit last podcast when we were talking about EA. And I was talking about, do you think that they would show Visceral Star Wars game?
No.
They made a comment EA put out a statement a few days ago about their press conference. And it was something to the effect of, we're going to be showing games coming later this year and next year, as well as a few things beyond that.
Yeah.
And to me, that was enough to get me to be like, you know what? Yeah, they're totally going to show that visceral Star Wars game.
Yeah.
I really...
You got to have something Star Wars. If it's not Battlefront 2, you got to have something Star Wars.
And them kind of making that statement of, like, they seem to be willing to show things beyond 2017.
Mm-hmm.
I think that visceral Star Wars game is, like, the perfect thing to show.
Yeah.
And maybe it's a Han Solo game. I don't know. So go ahead. What's yours? What's the next one?
Next one on my list, Xbox One Slim gets announced at the Microsoft press conference and is available later that week.
Oh, okay. All right. You gotta...
Say.
Okay. My next is just Child of Light 2.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's a good one. It's almost a safe one, but I like
it's a bit safe, yeah. There are some safe ones here.
Yep. That's fine. Staying with Microsoft, Phil Spencer comes out in a t-shirt that has a little guy with a cup as a head.
Okay.
And he says Cuphead is available today.
I would love that.
Yep.
I would love that.
Yep.
We're getting some good ones for me now. Okay. How many do you have left? I forget.
I have two left.
Okay. Do you want me to just go through a few of these?
Sure you can.
Okay. My next one, quote, Hideo Kojima will absolutely be on stage at Sony's press conference.
Oh, wow. What is he talking about?
I think... You know, it's real tough because you have to imagine it's probably way too early to show anything substantial.
If they even have anything substantial.
Yeah. But if it's true that they were planning on having Hideo Kojima be the final thing at PSX and Konami kind of screwed him over, I think there's probably a part of them that really wants him on stage.
Sure.
Even if it's nothing substantial, I think just the concept of having Kojima on stage and talk, and maybe even just giving a very, very brief, tiny bit of info of what they're doing.
Oh man,
you
know what they're gonna do.
They're gonna release PT again.
No, Adam Boyes is gonna come out on stage and he goes, "We're just wanting to announce that Hideo Kojima. We're just excited to announce that Hideo Kojima is launching a Kickstarter." And you can go to kickstarter.com/Hideo Kojima Project.
Colin, it's like you're looking at my predictions. So.
Oh, you have that?
Not quite. So we already did the Resident Evil 7 one. But yes. So my next one on my list is in the style of Shenmue 3, there will be a super crazy revival of a long silent franchise that is also a Kickstarter campaign.
Yep.
Here's a couple that I can just get through real quick. Gravity Rush 2, October 11th, 2016. The Last Guardian, September 20th, 2016.
Wow.
I will go through I'll go through two more and then we can do your two and then I'll finish off the rest of mine. Crash Bandicoot makes an appearance during the Sony press conference, but is not in a new Crash Bandicoot game. This is used to add more fuel to the fire that Crash is returning to PlayStation.
So you like Sean Layden's gonna wear a shirt or something?
Yeah, it'll be another weird appearance cameo.
Okay.
but they won't announce the game.
Yeah.
I already did my God of War 1. For Honor beta live right now.
Yeah, that'd be good.
If you're attending
that's solid.
The Sony press event theater thing, you get a beta code.
That'd be really cool.
Yep. So that's kind of branching off I think you get For Honor in as many hands as you can.
Yep.
Go ahead and do your two, and then I've got a handful to wrap up.
Okay, so I'll go with this one first.
Okay.
We talked about it a couple days ago, as you said. Agent is real. It is not developed by Rockstar North. It is developed by Rockstar Toronto, which got absorbed part of Rockstar
merged with
Vancouver,
which did
Max Payne 3.
Yes, okay.
Yes, and so this game, Agent, will be real. And it will be multi-platform. It is no longer a PlayStation 4 exclusive.
Does it show up at the Sony stage or just in general?
It shows up at the Sony stage. Okay. Yep. More talk about 2K showing up.
Okay.
That's my prediction.
How crazy would it be if they had Red Dead 3 and then immediately followed it up with Agent?
That'd be great. See, like that's what they could do to.
I just want to be clear, Collin.
Away.
In regards to Agent, I think you are crazy, but I would love for it to still be a thing.
I don't know. That's the only plausible, realistic thing I could say. Like this is how this is still a thing, as if it went to another Rockstar studio.
Yeah, well, you're right. I see a lot of people. They're always like, I don't get why people are so hyped for Agent, and I think the answer is obvious. It's just
because of the developer.
It's a new IP from Rockstar. Like that's why. Definitely. That's all you need to know. They're one of few developers that you can do that with, and people would just lose their mind.
Yep, exactly.
That said, if Agent is real and does show up, they've got to show something substantial from it.
Sure.
It can't be. They can't just put a logo again.
But Rockstar does just announce things and then just goes quiet on it for
LA
a long
Noire
time.
was actually really similar. If you remember,
yeah, and so was Max Payne 3. Like, wasn't Max Payne 3 just like a Game Informer art cover and then like nothing for like a year?
For a long time. Well, LA Noire, I don't remember specifically. I want to say it was multiple years. That was a PS3 exclusive game, if I remember correctly. Yeah. And then it showed up, and when it showed up, like a couple years later, it was very close to being done.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. Like they have done that before.
Even GTA 5 had that one trailer that came out in 2011 or something, and then they just did or something like that, and they just didn't say anything for a year. There was like that minute, 30-second trailer. I thought, and then like no, they didn't say anything about it for a long time.
Maybe I'm misremembering. I thought GTA 5 was actually a pretty quick thing, but you could be right. I could be misremembering that one.
It wasn't multiple years. It might have been like a year or two, I guess, but I don't know.
But you're right. But there has at least been precedent that has happened before.
Yeah.
It's so hard. Like that game is almost it's like many of the games last year, the E3 of Dreams. Like it has kind of entered that mythical status of like, what even is it? Like if it does come back, it's going to be such a crazy thing. Because so many people have just assumed that it's been dead for years. But it's an interesting choice. So what's your last one then?
My last one, and I'll give you some context on how it's going to happen.
Okay.
It's gonna be in the middle of the press conference. They're going to be like, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Sean Layden. Sean Layden comes out. Everybody applauds and goes, I love video games.
Okay.
Not like Kevin Butler. I love video games. But I love video games. I play them just as much as you do.
He does his hand movements.
And there's, exactly. He does the hand movements. He does the slow kind of talk.
Yeah.
And he goes, but there's one game I promised a long time ago, and it is finally coming out. Vib Ribbon is coming to PlayStation 4, and it is out that day.
Yeah.
Vib Ribbon on PlayStation 4.
I was hoping you'd go Vib Ribbon 2 on that.
Yep. No, not Vib Ribbon 2.
All right.
Just Vib Ribbon.
So that was your last prediction then?
That was my last
prediction. I like that. Let's all finish off mine then. I got a few more. PS4 is getting folders in an upcoming firmware.
Oh, thank goodness. That's probably the biggest E3 announcement for me.
That would be so great. How great would that be?
Like, what do you take away from this E3? Like folders?
Yes. That would be at the top of my list at this point.
Yeah.
We briefly talked about this. PS4 or PS1 on PS4. If it happens,
I wonder if that's how Vib Ribbon happens. I wonder if that's how it happens. Is that?
Oh, it absolutely would be, because I think, and I think it would be similar to the. Well, I hope that they would have learned from the reaction of the PS2 on PS4.
Yeah.
But I am prepared for it to be the similar scenario where there's not cross-buy, because they've got trophies and they look better. You know, like I'm prepared for that.
They're widescreen or something.
Happen.
Yeah.
So yeah. Gio Corsi says, quote, "We love the Vita," during his segment of the press conference.
It's like he's wearing a hockey jersey, obviously.
Yeah. Probably a Penguins one.
Oh.
Final Fantasy VII Part 1 gets a name. A new trailer is shown, and they announced that a demo will be bundled with Final Fantasy 15.
Okay.
Let's talk Final Fantasy 15. Final Fantasy 15 gets a collector's edition PlayStation 4 bundle, complete with the Final Fantasy logo etched onto a white PS4 and a special Final Fantasy branded DualShock 4 controller.
I would say that's probably pretty good. Yep.
3 left. I like all 3 of these predictions here.
Okay.
We were talking about Mark Cerny earlier.
Yep.
Mark Cerny takes the stage to talk about the PlayStation 4 Neo. After discussing specs, hardware specs, and kind of their design philosophies surrounding the PlayStation 4 Neo, and wowing us with his amazing voice. He is there to demonstrate one specific game to show off the capabilities of PlayStation 4 Neo, and that game is none other than Knack 2.
Oh, man. Double the amount of objects you can have.
Yep. Last two are Nintendo focused. So
there's your eShop corner of the week.
So they're doing a sale next week on the eShop, and they're showing off Legend. Like, they've pretty much been like, Legend of Zelda is going to be our thing. They're not having a direct or anything, but they did say that they're going to bring a few other games for the live stream in a couple days, and they've kind of left that open that like maybe there's a possibility of sneaking some surprise announcement in. Where there's smoke, there is fire, Collin, and I think that surprise is going to be Mother 3, or possibly Earthbound 2, whatever they end up calling it. Will just randomly show up in the Wii U eShop next week.
So no, like precedent. You mean just there it is? Like
they'll mention it. They'll be like during the live stream. They'll be like, "Hey, this is happening," or they'll put out a press release or something. But that rumor caught steam again earlier this year from pretty reputable sources, people who are definitely in the know. I think it's absolutely going to happen. If you think about last year, they randomly dropped Earthbound Beginnings. So I could see them calling it Earthbound 2 or something, not Mother 3. But I think it's absolutely coming over, and I think next week would be a decent time to just drop it on the eShop. They're having a big sale too to kind of go along with my Nintendo accounts. So they've been they put out a press release earlier today recommending people sign up on my Nintendo because you'll get bonus points for buying during the sale. So I just think it would fit pretty well for that to show up. And my last one. This is my chance to talk about The Legend of Zelda a bit, but specifically my prediction is The Legend of Zelda will make me cry tears of joy. I don't know if
you have to record this to make sure that this happens.
I'll do my reaction video.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have anything to say about The Legend of Zelda.
Look forward to seeing it.
As far as rumors are concerned, it's one of my most anticipated things of the show next week. Yeah. I cannot wait. It's still surreal to think that we're like 6 days away from seeing it, or even a couple days away when this airs.
Yeah.
I think the rumor about being able to choose boy or girl Link, I think that's probably true. I think the voice acting rumor is probably true. If I had to guess, I think this game they're gonna pitch it as something that very much harkens back to the original Legend of Zelda. They might drop Link to the Past. They might name drop that, but I think it's going to be open world and very similar in style of the original Legend of Zelda, where it just drops you in and you just go. And there's probably a bit of story there with the voice acting and whatnot. I think, not that Nintendo hasn't done open world games. There have been open world Nintendo games before, but I think this feels different. The fact that it's Zelda and it's more open than previous Zeldas have been in scope, right? And I think what they're going to have to do is they're going to have to show because it's Nintendo, right? So you want to see what's, maybe gimmick's not the right word, but it's something new, something different. It's like when I said with Horizon, right? It's show what makes Horizon different from other open world games. I think you got to do that with Zelda, is you show...
Your horses don't run into trees.
Yeah, your horses don't run into trees. That's a big one. I think the setting, I think it is probably Hyrule, but ancient in a kind of setting of the existence itself of this kingdom has long been forgotten. It's just it's kind of Shadow of the Colossus style, long forgotten kingdom, right? Or ancient land. But I think I think about that bow from that initial teaser trailer. I think there's some sort of sci-fi futuristic element.
Yeah.
I think that the choice between a boy or male or female Link is more than just choosing gender. I think that that will have an impact on the kind of tools that you get. I think there's a possibility that you choose a male Link, and male has a very specific there's totally different objects or different tools or weapons that you'll be able to find. Or maybe they have different abilities, or maybe like there's something different. Maybe there's a different starting village that they're from, or some like maybe I think it might be more than just I want to play as a female character. And maybe they make it more substantial and more meaningful.
And Nintendo's definitely the company that would do something like that.
And so I think when you think about these rumors of voice acting and gender options, like I think there's a possibility that it's more than just the option, that they go above and beyond that, and they add something more substantial to that option, to make it more interesting. But I think this is. I don't know. I don't know. I think obviously you're gonna have a ton of people reading into this demo, trying to figure out if there's anything here that can pinpoint a control scheme that the NX would use.
Yeah. Where do you think this will take place in the Zelda timeline?
I don't think they acknowledge it.
Okay.
And I don't think that's something that anyone will have any concrete ideal for until we've played the game. I don't think they'll acknowledge it. I don't know. I think there's a strong possibility that like whatever they show has a lot of references to other Zelda games. Like maybe you'll see some mask, or you might see some certain important objects or something, you know. I wonder if there's a chance you could customize the way Link looks.
Oh yeah.
But
dress him using the gamepad.
Yeah. But I don't know. I'm super, super excited for it. I cannot wait to see what they have to show. It still hasn't hit me that we're just days away from seeing it. This is one of my most anticipated games, you know, by far. And unfortunately, we're still a ways off from playing it, but I'm super stoked to finally see it. So this E3, no matter what happens, I get the sense that The Legend of Zelda, if everything goes right, that's going to be the game at the end of next week that I'm just like, wow. Like, wow. You know, like that's going to be the thing that really sticks with me. I hope. But with that said, oh my God, Collin.
Did we do it?
I think we got through this.
Can I wake up now?
I think we got through this. And to think, we actually haven't even recorded the news section of this podcast yet.
No.
We'll get through it.
So
E3 is this week. If you're listening to this when it goes up, it is later today. Is EA and Bethesda kicking things off? The most exciting week of the year, of course. This is Christmas for us.
It's the most
wonderful I think
time
we're hoping or planning to do some recap podcasts or podcast singular for each press conference. We're still figuring out that. I would like to get Brad and Eric in on those if possible. But I could not possibly wait. I'm so excited. I feel like there's so much really cool stuff that could get announced. Just the thought of it. We might see Resident Evil 7 in a few days.
And be excited or devastated.
Capcom could redeem themselves. I don't know. That's what's so great. It's like we're in that point of like, I don't know. We don't know what could happen.
I know.
Anything's possible. And after last year, like truly anything is possible, and that's what's so exciting. It's going to be great. Let us know what you think. What are your predictions? I mean, obviously time is very limited when this comes out. I'm actually going to try to aim to get this out Saturday, but Sunday seems pretty likely. But if you've got some last minute predictions, let us know. What do you expect from these press conferences? And if it's later on, you know, were you satisfied with announcements and stuff? So Collin,
I have one more prediction.
Oh, here we go. All right, one more to close this out.
That has nothing to do with E3.
Okay.
Next week, I think it's next week, is the WWDC Apple conference.
Okay.
A representative from Nintendo will be on stage.
Wow.
To show the next game.
Collin, I love that. We're gonna end there.